any sense for you to say that there isn't a distinction between every gospel. Eastern Orthodox Christians believe that every gospel has a separate teaching, right? And this is why even Eastern Orthodox Christians actually full on 100% agree, right, that there are some, both Eastern and Oriental, that there are contradictions between these different books. To use this to say that it's all synonymous with one each other would actually be contradicting not only what the Orthodox Church's position is, right? I would have to assume that you're now arguing from the standing of a Catholic or a Protestant position, in which case it would be arbitrary for us to argue about the gospel, because then we would not be able to stand on a grounding of what the gospel actually means. Now, you failed to address the point that I made, which I said, first and foremost, it's arbitrary to argue upon this topic because we have different definitions of what the gospel is initially, right? Whether you're a Protestant or a Catholic, I do not care, right? Orthodox do not seem to agree with this position of yours anyway. But we would say, right, is that this prophecy is clearly mentioned, like I said, in the Old Testament, and we could provide Jewish exegesis that pre-existed Christianity, actually, that directly says that this refers to any non-Jewish prophet. So if it's any non-Jewish prophet, Jesus is not part of the list. I'm sorry to break it to you,
Right.
but
Jihadist.
Deuteronomy 18:18 does not refer to
Your
Jesus.
time is 10 minutes left.
Okay, thank you. Is my timer starting now?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so first point, the source that you quoted, I'm imagining you just like start Googling madly church fathers quotes on the gospel. If you actually read what's being said here, read the quote, read the exact sentence that you just semi-quoted, that you picked out, that you thought was agreeing with you. Any definition of the gospel is the good news of Jesus. It's not a book itself. The study of the gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, is the study of books, these books that contain the good news. So do you understand the difference between something that contains the good news and the good news itself? Okay, so so the Quran, first of all, never makes this distinction between a written book and a spoken message, which is the Christian definition from the beginning, which shows that the Quran doesn't have divine origin because it has no idea what it's talking about. But secondly, we can move on to Deuteronomy chapter 18, since you want to go there. And you think that you have sources that predate Christianity on Deuteronomy 18:18, talking about non-Israelite prophets. So my first challenge to you is from Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 15. Can someone post chapter 18, verse 15?
Yep, here we go. Let's pull it up. I'll put a bit.
Deuteronomy 18:15. Okay.
18,
The Lord
18.
your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among you, from your brothers. It is to him you shall listen. So the phrase from your brothers and from your midst, I challenge you to show me anywhere in the Hebrew Bible where those specific phrases refer to anybody outside of Israel. From your midst and from your brothers. That specific phrase. That's it for my time.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Jihadist.
Okay. All right. So, first and foremost, I think I found it silly that you just read it as face value, because as far as I know, Christians are supposed to create exegesis on it. Now, as far as I know, in 18:18, let's take a look here, Deuteronomy 18:18 in VC chat. Let me just capitalize the D so it could show up. Deuteronomy 18:18. It says, from among their brethren. It doesn't say your. It says your. It says their brethren. So who's their brethren? It's certainly not talking about Jews. And I said Deuteronomy 18:18. I don't know why you guys mentioned Deuteronomy 18:15. That shows dishonesty, actually. Because it seems like if we take a look at the Jewish exegesis on this, it actually refers that the nation of Israel in it is singular. So it's not talking about an Israelite. Why do you think the Jews reject the Christians when they talk about Deuteronomy 18:18? In fact, they would laugh, mainly because it does not talk about a Jewish prophet. It's talking about all non-Jewish prophets. And here we go. I'll pull up for you, right, the direct Jewish understanding of that in here. 1818, Jewish exposition. And we will shed light on this understanding once and for all, that it refers to any non-Jewish prophet. Furthermore, it would necessitate from teachings of people such as Rambam, right, the Rambam in Judaism, that Deuteronomy 18:15 and Deuteronomy 18:18 are not even synonymous, Jay. Right? So you don't even know what you're talking about when you're bringing up Deuteronomy 18:18, right? And you keep issuing these little.
All right, Jihadist.
Hold on, I'll go a little bit over time. You can have the extra time.
Okay.
You could go with these flimsy tirades and talk about Deuteronomy 18:15 and try to mislead from the topic, when I've clearly said Deuteronomy 18:18. Ishmael, even in the Bible, was promised a great nation, right? And it talks about the prophecies being fulfilled near Mount Selah. Mount Selah isn't in Jerusalem, Jay. Unless you're really that bad at geography, it isn't in Jerusalem. The one thing that is very specific here is talking about their brethren. Now, I challenge you on one simple thing, right? Since you keep issuing these challenges to me, and they're usually just flimsy and arbitrary and literally non-equivalence, false equivocation fallacies, I'll challenge you something very specific. I challenge you on the following. I dare you to bring me one Jewish exposition, okay, from Deuteronomy 18:18. One, from any Jewish sect, okay, that says their brethren refers to Israel, okay? Because even in the Hebrew language,
Jihadist. It's too much.
I'm almost done.
Just wrap up, like, really.
I will, because even in the Jewish language, it doesn't talk about their brethren is not even talking about Israel. And by the way, may I request that we just cut this time thing, because I think it's to be honest just kind of a hindrance, right? We're not getting our points across.
Okay, Jai, do you agree?
No. Let me respond first. Okay. So I find it funny. I find it really funny that you appeal to Rambam out of all the people you could have appealed to. I'm guessing you've never read an ounce of what he wrote on this topic. I'm guessing you've never read any of his work on Deuteronomy 18. I'm guessing that you have no idea what you're talking about, and you're just assuming ignorance on people. That's why you're spewing these things. I'm going to post you guys a link to the Rambam called Igret Temen, which means the epistle to Yemen, where Maimonides, the Rambam himself, refutes the notion that Muhammad, whom he calls the madman, that's what he calls him. He's writing in Arabic. He says Majnun. He calls Muhammad Majnun, and he says the Mohammedans, the Ishmaelites, claim that Muhammad is written about in Deuteronomy 18:15, 18:18. And he goes on lengthy in his treaty to refute the idea, point for point. So I just find it funny that you, a Muslim, is appealing to the Rambam, who literally spends paragraphs in his treaty to describe who the Messiah is, to debunk this idea that Muhammad is written about in the Torah, specifically in Deuteronomy 18. Okay, now this idea that going back to the text now, putting aside the Rambam, I'll post the text. I'll post the link to the text afterwards. You guys can all read it for yourself. It's called the Epistle to Yemen by the Rambam. He wrote it in the 11th or 12th centuries. In Deuteronomy chapter 18, you're saying, I didn't cite verse 15. I cited verse 18. Again, this is your ignorance of the Bible. This is your ignorance of ancient text. I don't know what else it could, how you think. I don't know how you could think that that's a valid argument. In the original text, it doesn't have the chapter divisions or verse divisions. It's all one long thing. The scroll the Hebrew text, it's not divided into chapters or verses. So Of course, 15 is related to 18. It says, the Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet, verse 15, from your midst, which I asked you, provide me anywhere in the Hebrew Bible where from your midst, or from your brothers, from your brothers, anywhere refers to anyone outside of Israel, according to all that you have desired of your Lord, the God in Horeb, and the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear the voice of the Lord again, nor let me see his great fire anymore, lest I die. And the Lord God said to me, what they have spoken is good. I will raise up for them a prophet. So of course it's related. You can't just take verse 18 in isolation of verse 15. So the challenge still remains. Show me anywhere in the Torah, anywhere in the entire Hebrew Bible, where the word from you, the phrase from your brethren or from your midst refers to anyone outside of Israel. And until you address that and say you can't do that, I'll move on to the next point and show you why this certainly cannot refer to Muhammad. And I know he went over the time, and you're giving me extra time, but I just want to end it there because I want him to respond. I don't want him to have an excuse that I brought up too many points. So specifically what I'm asking you is, show me anywhere in the Hebrew Bible where from your midst, from your brothers, refers to anybody outside of the children of Israel. Go ahead.
Right,
this is one of the most. I just want to say this is one of the most futile things I've ever heard. Because first of all, Rambam calling the Prophet ﷺ a madman does not negate everything else that he said. If I call you a fool, and then I say, well, what he said regarding this is correct, that does not mean that I negate the fact that you said something that is correct, Jay, although you are a fool, right? That doesn't change the factor. Now, we can take a look at multiple other people, such as Shimon Bar Yochai as well, and other individuals such as him that also agree with this understanding. Now let's take a look at VC chat here, because since you failed to cite anything that the Rambam said in regards to 1818, I will cite it myself. Right? Let's read together, shall we? Although Deuteronomy 18:18 describes the future arrival of a prophet like Moses, it is actually doing everything possible to make this impossible, considering the centrality of Moses' role as a lawgiver and the Deuteronomic warning that no expansion of contraction of the Deuteronomic law is permissible. Deuteronomy could not really have envisioned another Moses arriving on the scene, even if it stops short of saying that no other Moses like prophet could ever arise in where? In where, Jay? In where, Jay? I want you to hear. Everyone in this chat, I want you to say it yourself. Where does it say? Could ever arise in where? Jay, speak. I'm allowing you to speak, to take a little bit of my time and interrupt me. What does it say? Ever arise where?
Jihadist. You have 2 minutes, so use it up as you wish, but don't like it.
Right.
Okay.
That's fine. I'm giving him full permission to break it. Where does it say? Could ever arise where, Jay?
Okay, so you stop using your time, right?
Let me utilize my minutes. I'm telling you, he's allowed to interrupt me for this instance to read the specific word out in front of the public. Yeah, so he can embarrass his stupidity in front of everyone.
Hey, hold on, come on, dude.
Here? No, Diego.
Sly,
now you're
come
taking
on,
from
dude.
my time. Diego, you're taking from my time.
No, I'm a moderator, dude. I'm a moderator, so I'm allowed to do this. Come on.
Right.
All right, so okay, so I'm gonna give him 2 minutes because you already agreed that you're gonna.
I said specifically, Diego. We're not gonna do this. I said specifically to interrupt me for this specific segment to answer what this is saying. If he refuses, that's fine. I don't want to say what this word says. If he doesn't want to say this word out loud, I will read it for him. That's all I'm asking is just to say this word specifically, if he wants to.
Okay, I'm gonna give him 2 minutes, and we're gonna continue from there. Okay.
Yes,
because you don't get to control this conversation, dude.
I'm not. I'm allowed.
Yes,
I'm telling you.
Yes, you are, dude. I mean, you already went overtime. Come on, like I'm trying to be as fair as possible. I gave you like 4 minutes instead of 2 minutes. Like, come on, I'm trying to be as fair as possible.
I have the timer right here. You've interrupted me halfway.
No,
it says here.
No, I'm the moderator, dude.
No problem, Diego. If he doesn't want to continue, I will continue with my words.
Jihadist. I'm gonna give him 2 minutes, and then after his 2 minutes, you get 2 minutes. That's the format that you agreed upon. Come on. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't finished my 2 minutes. What do you mean?
Yes,
it seems like you are now.
You already went overboard. Come on.
All All right, fine. No problem here. I will get an admin to come take over this debate. Who's on agnostic this time?
I'm not being biased here, but just please mute your mic before I do it. Before I do so, come on. All right.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, what he's citing there is it's not from the Rambam. It's not. He didn't give any citations or anything. This is a commentary. I challenge you to post a source for that, because that's not the Rambam. I'll tell you why. The reason why I told you that Maimonides said that Muhammad is madman or majnun, not to be irrelevant, it's directly related to the point. He's literally calling him a madman in the context of Muslims making the same silly claim that you're making. You're saying Muhammad is in Deuteronomy 18. Muhammad is in Deuteronomy 18:18. He's responding to that, and he's saying Muhammad, this madman whom they're trying to claim is in Deuteronomy 18:18. He goes on to refute that at length. And you asked me to show you a citation where he says this is about. Watch this. I'll give you the quote. I'm actually going to give you the source here. Unlike Jihadist, who's madly Googling things, nervous, talking fast, doesn't have any idea what he's talking about, I'm going to actually provide you with a citation. Here's the citation. Moreover, another notion is conveyed with the words, from the midst of thee, from thy brethren like unto me, namely, he will be one of you, that is, a Jew. You appeal to Maimonides. You appeal to Rambam, not me. Maimonides himself says that it's a Jew. So you have no idea what you're talking about. Stay away from Maimonides. He's not your friend. Stay away from Deuteronomy 18:18. It debunks Islam. Okay, now, in Deuteronomy chapter 34, which what you were citing actually refers to, this is hilarious. You keep citing passages that refute what you're saying. In Deuteronomy chapter 34, verses 10 through 12, it says, but since then there has not arisen in Israel, that's the word you wanted to say, in Israel, a prophet like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. One thing, the prophet like Moses knows the Lord face to face. Second, and then the signs and wonders which the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt before the Pharaoh. So the prophet like Moses, and by the way, let me know on my time when the time's up. The prophet like Moses knows the Lord face to face, and he does signs and wonders like Moses. He does the mighty works that Moses did in Israel. But yet it says there hasn't arisen a prophet where? In Israel. So the prophet in Deuteronomy is expected to be in Israel. I'll see the time. Go ahead.
All right, okay. Go ahead, Jihadist.
First off, before I start, I'm getting Sin here and Aziz. Aziz, are you be able to moderate around with instead of Diego, you and Aziz, because I think Diego's now doing a horrible job. Yeah. Now, as I was saying, I'm going to go on.
Sorry, Assalamu alaikum, if I could just say something. So I actually have another call. I was supposed to have a call in about 10 minutes, so that's why I declined to moderate. But I can listen in for a few minutes until I have to leave. So I apologize for that.
I'll moderate. Don't worry.
That's fine. Sin will moderate instead. Yeah. All right, Diego. Now you're off, right?
All right. Wait. First, can I know who's doing?
Yeah, it's Sin is now moderating. Yeah, because Diego.
Okay. Whoa, dude, you're just switching the moderators halfway through the debate.
Right, I'm switching it to the pagan, right?
Yeah, but okay. First of all, Diego's being okay, dude. This is your problem. You debate about debating more than you actually do the debates. So we're not going to do this again. We're not going to go through this again. Let's continue in the format. So Sin or Diego, who wants to do it.
Okay.
We're doing 2 minutes each. That's the format we agreed to.
Okay. All right, Sin. 2 minutes each, please.
That's it.
So
that's why
it's myself, Jai, and Jihadist.
That's why I said
and we're doing 2 minutes each.
Okay, both of you 2 minutes each. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So he's going now 2 minutes, and then I'm going 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you for telling me. I just want to know that. That's all I needed to know.
Thank you, Sin. Thank you, Sin, for answering the call, right? Now, since here now we don't have a biased moderator, I'm going to reissue my challenge again because seemingly that it was interrupted in the beginning, and the ramble of the Christians began just flying around everywhere. First and foremost, yes, it is a commentary on the Rambam's works, right? You said to post the source. Okay, here, I will post for you the source, right? Just in case you think like this is some sort of trick or something. Here, let's pull it up right here. Let's see. Let's see here. Here, I'll post it momentarily. But yes, it is, just so I could save a few of my time. I will post it momentarily while I'm silent. And it's his turn to talk. But essentially, Right here it says, and it is a commentary on what the Rambam said. And first and foremost, just in case you are talking about saying that, well, Rambam called Muhammad a madman. This is talking about Gomara, right? I don't know if you know who Gomara is, but I do duly urge you to go look on the Rambam's debates with the Muslims at Andalusia. Yeah, because it seems that you don't even know your Jewish history. Now, the Rambam, it actually directly explains to you in the exposition of that verse according to Judaism, which I said I will bring up, but it seems like you are avoiding, you even refuse to answer what it says. So here, let's try this again, Jake. Let's try this again, this time with a pagan moderator, right? So we don't have any bias here. Let's try this again. Although Deuteronomy 18:18 describes the future arrival of a prophet like Moses, it is actually doing everything possible to make this impossible. Considering the centrality of Moses' role as a lawgiver and the Deuteronomic warning that no expansion contraction on the Deuteronomic law collection is permissible, Deuteronomy could not really have envisioned another Moses arriving on the scene, even if it stops short of saying that no other Moses like prophet could ever arise in where. Now, let's try this again because Diego failed at this last time. Let's try this again. I will allow you, to just interrupt for this small amount, to take a little bit of my time, to tell me what that word says. That like a prophet could ever arise in where, Jay? Let's try this again. See, Jay now doesn't want to answer, and he avoids answering this question, and instead just goes...
Would you like to answer Jihadist's question? He's asking you.
I don't even know what he's... Okay, what's the text I'm supposed to be reading?
He's talking about Deuteronomy 18:18.
Yeah, but what's the text that I'm supposed to be reading?
I want you to read this, right? I will post the source afterwards because you said this is not Rambam, which I will, when it's your turn to speak, I'll be glad to show that you are wrong. It says here, even if it stops short of saying that no other prophet like Moses could ever arise in where? What does that word say?
Israel.
In Israel. This is what the legislation seems aimed at accomplishing. Okay, so we can now learn from the understanding of Jewish writings and exegesis that what is being said here is that there will be no prophet like Moses in Israel. Now, if that wasn't clear enough for you, I would challenge, you still have refused to address my challenge. My challenge to you originally was I want you to give me one Jewish exposition. And you, instead of wending on and rambling about Rambam, talking about the wrong Muhammad, making yourself sound like a fool, I'm asking you something very simple. This is my challenge. Give me one Jewish exegesis that says from their brethren is talking about Jews. Just one.
Okay, so,
okay, is that his time?
If I could just, guys, if I could just interject here in the debate. Sorry, this is Aziz. I'm a moderator here. So I just have a request for the debate while I'm here temporarily. The chat. So a lot of people are commenting in the VC chat. I have a request to the two debaters, Jihadist and Jai or Hai. If you're whatever resources that you want to post for the debate, if you two could post it in the debate chat, and that way, and I request all the other members to not comment in that channel, and that way, people could quickly go and easily see your sources. And for everyone else just discussing regarding the debate, you guys can talk in the VC chat, but let's just try to keep those separate. And yeah, if you two could post your sources in debate chat, then it'll be easy for everyone to find it. They can just go to that channel and quickly click it. Go ahead and continue.
Okay, thank you. So what you just cited, first of all, you don't even know you're not even understanding what you're reading. In fact, I challenge you to post the entire page. And like you said, that's not the Rambam. It's a commentary on the Rambam. So first, you said that you have sources that predate Christianity. We found that that's not true. You haven't showed any source that predates Christianity that shows Deuteronomy 18:18 is about someone outside of Israel. That's the first thing. Second thing, this is a commentary on the Rambam, which is alluding to, if you know the Bible, which you don't clearly, it's alluding to chapter 34, verse 10, where it says that there has not been a prophet that has arisen like Moses in Israel. That's where in Israel becomes relevant. Now you asked me to give you a source, a Jewish commentary. I don't know if you're listening to me. I gave it to you last time. You appealed to the Rambam, and then you gave a commentary on the Rambam for something you thought was saying that the prophet would be someone outside of Israel. Okay, forget about your misunderstanding of what the commentary on the Rambam says. Let's read what the Rambam actually says. What he actually says. I'm posting it in the text. Anyone can look it up. It says, moreover, another notion is conveyed in the words, from the midst of thee, from thy brethren like unto me. Maimonides, the Rambam is saying this, namely, he will be like one of you, that is a Jew. This is the obvious deduction, that you shall be distinguished from all others for the sole possession of prophecy. The words like unto me were specifically added to indicate only the descendants of Jacob. How are you going to appeal to the Rambam when he literally refutes you? He's saying that Deuteronomy 18:18 is about an Israelite. Okay, now going back to chapter 34, which the commentary you quoted appeals to or alludes to. It says, but since then there has not arisen in Israel, not outside of Israel, a prophet like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. Muhammad did not know the Lord face to face. In all the signs and wonders which the Lord sent me to do in the land of Egypt, Muhammad did not do signs like Moses did in Egypt. Okay, there's my time.
Okay, well, I mean, it's not done yet. It's still 15 seconds. But okay, if you're
okay.
I'll set it for Jihadist now. You go, Jihadist.
Thank you. First of all, I did click on your link. I put Deuteronomy 18:18, but I could have sworn it keeps showing Deuteronomy 18:15. Once again, you failed to answer the challenge. I asked, and I'm going to repeat, and I'll give you the rest of the time as charity from the Muslims to correct your answer once again, Jay. This cites Deuteronomy 18:15. I said 18:18, right? This would be basic mathematics for you. I'm going to reissue my challenge again, more specifically with dumbed-down English, Jay, so you can understand. One Jewish exegesis, yes, one single Jewish exegesis, whatever Jewish sect you want. It could be Messianic, Orthodox, Hasidic, whatever you want. That talks about Deuteronomy 18:18, not 18:15, yes, saying that the words from among their brethren, because among their brethren is not found in 18:15, yeah, so obviously you cannot read. It says 18:18, among their brethren, referring to an Israelite. I secede the rest of my time. This is charity from the Muslims for you to correct yourself again on your answer. This is the second time I'm giving you charity now.
Okay, so start my timer, hold on. Okay, so again, I'm going to repeat what I told you last time. The verses, the divisions that you're reading right now, in English or whatever language you're reading it in, because you're obviously not understanding it in English. I don't know. Do I need to explain to you in Arabic? I'm not sure. It says clearly that the Lord, your God, verse 15, the Lord your God will listen to the words. Remember, the chapter division and verse division wasn't there originally. It says, the Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from your midst. That's verse 15. So the same prophet that will be like Moses is the same prophet in verse 18 that says the Lord speaking. Now, the only difference is one time it's Moses speaking it, and now it's the Lord speaking it. I will raise up a prophet for them from among their brethren. So Moses says from among your brethren. The Lord says from among their brethren. Now, only someone who has no idea how to read or do exegesis or basic interpretive skills, who has no interpretative skills at all, would conclude that there's a different prophet between verses 15 and verse 18. Furthermore, to further prove that this has nothing to do with Muhammad, the prophet like Moses has to have the same theology as Moses. The prophet like Moses has to have the same theology as Moses. In Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 1, it talks about the children of Israel being the sons and children of God. In chapter 32, verse 6, chapter 32, verse 18, if Deuteronomy is good enough to prove your point that you think Muhammad is in the Torah, then Deuteronomy is good enough to falsify your point. Muhammad did not teach that God is our Father. Moses taught that God is our Father. So the prophet like Moses cannot contradict the theology of Moses. If you're appealing to the book of Deuteronomy, my time's up.
Yeah, your time. Okay. Well, you can time it too. Okay, good job.
All right.
You're Jihadist.
Once again, I'm going to reissue the challenge because he does not seem to be getting it, and then just replying with snarky remarks on grammar. I'm going to repeat again, and one final time. Everyone look in debate chat. That's where we post our evidence, okay? Because now this is beginning to go in a circle because Jay here cannot answer a simple question. It says here, and it's look up 18:18. Nothing. 1815, 2. So once again, I'm going to reissue the same challenge. And Jay, this is going to continue until you actually decide to own up, find your spine, and accept it. Find me a Jewish exegesis on 1818, yes, that says among their brethren is talking about an Israelite. If you say that I don't know anything about exegesis, then it should be easy as cakewalk for you to do it, Jay. Repeating the same thing and the same answer in the form of ad nauseum, and just saying, should I speak to you in Arabic? Should I speak to you here? I'll even tell you it in Arabic so you can understand. 18, 18. Okay? 1818. Not 1815. One exegesis. That's all you have to do, Jay. It doesn't take that. It's not that hard. I promise. Wallah, it's not that hard. It's very easy. That's all I need you to do. One Jewish exegesis that says among their brethren equals an Israelite. And you're struggling to do that. Your argument's falling apart, Jay. And I'm starting to feel bad for you now. Please, go ahead, have the rest of my time. Again, for the 5th time now. For the 5th time, have the rest of my time. Get me the Jewish exegesis on 1818 that among their brethren is talking about a non-Israel. Okay? It's that easy.
Are you giving up your time? Because you only have like 14 seconds left.
Yeah, yes, I'm giving him the rest of my time. Add the 14 seconds onto his time as well. Okay?
I'll add 14 seconds.
So instead of repeating the same point over and over again, I'm going to keep giving proofs for why Muhammad cannot be the prophet like Moses. The Bible teaches the book of Deuteronomy, the same book of Deuteronomy, the same book of Deuteronomy that you're appealing to. In chapter 24, verses 1 through 4, the same prophet, the prophet Moses. And by the way, the people can decide whether I responded to his claim, whether their brothers or their midst refers to a Jewish people or the Jewish people or to non-Israelites. You guys can decide whether I give sources from his own, the very same guy he appealed to, Maimonides, the Rambam. The same guy literally refutes him. I mean, you must feel very foolish after that. I'm sure you're not going to make the same argument again. So, in Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 1 through 4, it's called an abomination. In Hebrew, a to'eva. To'eva means something that's hated from God, an abomination from God. It says this practice, where if a man divorces his wife, and then she marries another man, and then she divorces that man, if she goes back to the original husband, that's an abomination before God. This practice is also referred to in Jeremiah chapter 3, verses 1 to 2. But if you go to the Quran, chapter 2, what's going on? Yeah, your mic's messing up, Jihadist. Okay. If you go to the Quran, chapter 2, verse 230, this practice is sanctioned by the God of Islam, by the Prophet of Islam. And it says, it's this. Muslims, they even make movies about this in the Middle East. It's called Al-Muhalal. Al-Muhalal is a guy who works at a job to be, if a man divorces his wife, this is what chapter 2, verse 230 teaches. If a man divorces his wife and they want to get back together, she has to marry another man, divorce that man. You said 14 extra seconds? She has to divorce.
Seconds left.
Divorce that other man to marry the first man. That's an abomination before God. So Muhammad cannot be the prophet like Moses because he contradicts theology and teachings of Moses. Thank you.
All right. Jihad, it's your turn.
Great. So once again, you refuse to answer the question. Right? Instead, you rambled on about something you don't know. Which, by the way, the hadith, if you had a clear understanding of the hadith, no, it does not say that. It says you cannot go back just for the sake of marrying that man. That's actually haram to do. Yes? Now, again, I will impose my question to you because you seem to now be changing the goalpost and side jumping away from the question that I've asked you to try and run away to a different topic about hadith. We are not talking about hadith here, Jay. Right? Your Christians keep saying busted, but it seems like you keep getting busted because you keep changing the topic. Jay, the question is very simple. It's very simple. Okay? One Jewish exegesis on 1818. Go ahead.
Okay. He's ceding his time?
Yes.
Okay, so wait, you want me to give him a minute? An extra minute?
Yeah. So I would appreciate, actually, if I may put in a request for the moderator, if he does not answer the question, just return the time back to me and allow me to continue instead of him.
Okay, so, all right, okay, all right, let's make it very clear what question you want him to answer, first off. Okay, let's put it in plain English form, flat out, so he knows exactly how to respond. Like you want, just let's say it real quick, just the whole question, period.
Okay, I want him to give me one Jewish exegesis, yes, on Deuteronomy 18:18, not 18:15, not Isaiah 42, not anything else. I want a Jewish exegesis on Deuteronomy 18:18 that says, among their brethren equals, it's going to be an Israelite. Yes?
Okay.
Because that's all the question is, and I want him to answer that.
So Jai, Jai, all right, let me just ask you something, Jai. Can you give him? All right, I'll tell him. Give him a Jewish exegesis on Deuteronomy 18:18 that describes the countrymen as being Israelites. Alrighty, and I will give you 3 minutes. 1 second. 3 minutes and go.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, I addressed this already, but I'll do it again since you wanted to give me time to address this. I don't mind answering you again so that people can see you have no idea what you're talking about. If you go to any Jewish commentary on this verse, it's telling you that this is referring to a nation prophet, a nation prophet. I'll give you the sources afterwards. I'll give you, I have one right here. It's called Akedat Yitzchak, where it specifically quotes this verse, and it says that this is referring to every single Jew, that they have a degree of prophetic nature inside of them, because in Judaism they have a divine soul, a prophetic soul. This is, it's a Jewish philosopher, a philosophical book. You also said I can quote a Messianic Jew. I mean, you really have no idea what you're talking about, do you? If I go to Deuteronomy chapter, if I go to Dr. Michael Brown is a Messianic Jew. Moshe, all of any Jews for Judaism, Jews for Jesus have entire articles written on Deuteronomy chapter 18. And the Messianic Jews all interpret Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 18 as being about an Israelite and specifically the Messiah. Because that's how the New Testament interprets it in Acts chapter 2. In Acts chapter, it's quoted elsewhere in the book of in the New Testament. But okay, specifically for the source, it's called Akedat Yitzchak, and it's a philosophical work where it says that this is referring to every single nation prophet of Israel. So that's the source, and that's the exegesis. That's your answer.
All right. I'll stop this. Could you post the link to that source in the chat, or have you already done that, Jai?
Yeah, I just posted it now.
You just did? Okay.
That's in VC chat, by the way.
Oh, can you post it? And can you post it in a debate chat so it's easier to get to?
Here, let's look.
It'll be easier if you post it in debate chat. Anywho, alright, Jihadist, I will. I guess 1 second. Let me reset this. Alrighty, and you have 2 minutes to respond, Jihadist. Now.
Okay. Well, let's take a look again. This is a philosophy book. Wasn't an exegesis. Okay. One last time. I think this is becoming pretty clear now, right? If I ask you for tafsir, if you ask me for tafsir, I don't hand you a philosophy book from Al-Ghazali about what could this verse mean. Yeah? I asked for a direct Jewish exegesis. Yes? I never said Jewish philosophy book on what verses could mean. Right? I said Jewish exegesis. For example, Shimon Bar Yochai or Maimonides. Surely if he called, you say, well, using Maimonides is bad and such a silly argument. Go find in his works, and I want you to post his exegesis that 18:18 among their brethren equals Israelites. You are failing to answer the simplistics of question. And I'm sure the moderator here can stand by it that you did not answer you literally said in your own speech that this is a philosophy book and here's their exegesis. This is literally what you said. A philosophy book is not an exegesis. Do you know what the definition of an exegesis is? It needs to be written by a man who is an expert on exegesis. It needs to be a man who knows how to decipher these books. Not write a philosophy book on what things could mean. I could send you a philosophy book on what butterflies mean. That doesn't mean now a butterfly is a camel if a philosopher said a butterfly is technically like a camel. Don't be the silly, Jay. Once again, I present the question, which you have failed to answer now for the 8th time in a recorded debate, like a fool. Bring me one Jewish exegesis, Jay. It's not that hard. One Jewish exegesis. You guys claim to be true Jews. You can't even find one single Jewish exegesis. This is embarrassing for you, Jay. It's embarrassing. Get me the Jewish exegesis. I'm gonna send the same request to the moderator. I want him to send me a Jewish exegesis, not a philosophy book, not a story book, not 1001 Nights. Yeah?
I got you. Okay, I got you. All right, Jai. Can you either can you find, say, a book directly from a said expert in such text, in, like, say, I don't know, textual criticisms or something like that, that can decipher the book properly, or can you defend why the passage within the philosophy book is an exegesis?
Okay, so
I'll give you 2 minutes answering.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, Maimonides himself deals with this passage, and he says that not only is Muhammad Majnun, crazy, a madman, and he calls Muslims wild for appealing to this passage, but he refutes point for point for why this cannot be Muhammad. And he talks about how this does not refer to a non-Israelite prophet, but it specifically refers to a Jewish prophet. And by the way, it's funny. This is really hilarious, because you're talking about commentaries, and you appealed to Maimonides. Remember, you appealed to Maimonides. That's why I went to him. First of all, the Rambam is not an interpreter. He's not a commentator. He's a philosopher. The one that you're against, remember? The one that you just told me that I shouldn't be going to? He's a philosopher, okay? He's not. He's a philosopher, and he's a compiler of Jewish law. He's not a commentator. I mean, this is well known in any cursory research will tell you Maimonides is not a commentator. But he does refute what you're saying. That's why I appeal to him. I go to your sources, and I show you from your own sources that you're wrong. Okay? So with that, I'm going to continue talking about why this cannot refer to Muhammad. The reason why it cannot refer to Muhammad is because he broke the law of Moses. So the prophet, like Moses, cannot break the law of Moses. In Leviticus chapter 26, verse 1, it talks about not bowing down to stones. We know that Muhammad was infamous for bowing down to smooching and kissing the black stone. That's against the law of Moses. And if he did that in the time of Moses, he would have been put to death for it. So, to recap another point, Muhammad taught that that God is not the father of anybody. Moses taught that God is our father. And even Muhammad said that a metaphorical understanding of being a child of God is blasphemous.
And time. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Once again, if you open debate chat, right, I'm sure the moderator here will still agree that this wasn't an exegesis. He went on rambling about Rambam. Rambam insulting the prophet does not negate his understanding that it says a non-Jewish prophet. You still fail to provide that. Even in your own little philosophy book, Jay, I opened your little philosophy book, which isn't an exegesis. If you open debate chat, it clearly says here, for them among their own people. For them among their own people. For them among their own people, Jay. Jay, once again, you have failed to provide anything. You sent me a translation, yeah, which claims to be, quote unquote, a philosophy book. Okay? Jay, I'm going to now ask you bluntly, right? Stop avoiding the question. Stop changing the goalpost. Stop trying to run away to non sequiturs. Like, Maimonides said this about Muhammad, so therefore, it does not mean that it's a non-Jew. That's a non sequitur. That doesn't relate to each other. That's a false equivocation fallacy, Jay. I've seen multiple videos of you doing a false equivocation fallacy. Now, I'm going to ask the question, and this time I'm going to ask the moderator to let me interrupt you when you don't answer my question so I can pose it again and again and again, Jay, until you run back to your little server or you have to go to sleep. Okay? So, once again, your own philosophy book does not provide anything. Now, I'm going to ask you one last time. Jewish exegesis that among their brethren, among their own people, from their own group, here's me dumbing it down in English, equals Israelite. 1818. Now, I'm going to request from the moderator Sin, if you may be so kind, please. If he fails to answer my question with an exegesis and instead rambles on about Maimonides or rambles on about someone else and tries to present a non sequitur, may I please have the courtesy of interrupting him to pose my question again, or you as a moderator interrupt him to pose the question again.
All right, time. Okay. How about this?
Yeah.
Basically,
I just want to say something about the moderation if that's what's going to start happening. Okay. Yeah,
One second. Let me handle this. Okay. Basically, how about this? Instead of you interrupting him, if he brings up Maimonides or if he brings up an extra thing, I will intervene and reassert the question. How does that sound? Instead of just turn to a dogfight, how about I intervene?
Sure. Yeah. Of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Before you do that.
One second.
Before you do that, I asked a number of questions and I made a number of points that he either is not hearing or he just knows that he can't refute, so he's not addressing them. So if you're going to be able to interrupt me, interrupt him as well when he's not addressing the points that I make. For example, Muhammad smooching and kissing the black stone, when according to Leviticus chapter 26, the law of Moses says that that's idolatry. So I want him to answer that point. If Moses is if the prophet like Moses is Muhammad, the stone smoocher, how can he?
Jay, how about in order for me to do that, I'll need you to can you write down the questions and put them? How about you just DM me the questions you have for him specifically that if he has not addressed in your that you've not addressed. Why don't you DM me those so I can keep track of them while he talks? Does that sound fair? Because I can't remember all of them. I know
that's okay. I can't remember all of them. If one of the Christians like Chicken of the Sea or the Jason Bourne, if they want to write down the questions, if they could do that, I trust them writing
to me
down.
Or send it to DM it to me. Put it somewhere I can find it. But basically.
I'm going to address when we talk about this philosophical book.
Okay. But it seems that Jihadist specifically wants you to address a specific exegete, not a philosophy book, something like that, but a specific scholarly exegete. So if you could just cite one of those in your response, that would be great. And I will set you up for your time starting now.
Okay, thank you. So first, the response to what he's saying about this philosophy book, he's saying from among them, as if he's just ignoring everything else that it says. It's saying they are in possession of the Holy Torah. This is every individual Jew. So notice how he dishonestly quotes and picks from the comments where it says from among them, as if that somehow proves his point. When they're actually saying this is referring to Jews. It's referring to Jewish people.
Okay, but what's your exegete specifically apart from the philosophy book?
Yeah, that's okay. Well, okay. First of all, Maimonides is not an exegete, but since he's appealing to Maimonides, I'm using Maimonides as an exegete.
Could you
in the same manner he is?
Think to exegete that isn't Maimonides for this instead of Maimonides. Could you use one?
Say that again.
Could you use a non-Maimonides exegete for this? Just to
yeah. Okay. So, here's a scholar. His name is Dr. Michael L. Brown. He's a Semitic language scholar. He's a Messianic Jew. Remember, he said I can quote any Jew I want to, even Messianic Jews. Dr. Michael Brown specifically says and argues that Deuteronomy 18:18 is about not just any Israelite, but he says they are nation prophets, and it ultimately is about the Messiah. So that's a Jewish scholar that I'm appealing to. Now just to reiterate some of the points, and then those guys can write down the points. Please force him to address these points. That first of all, Deuteronomy chapter 34 specifically says that the prophet must be in Israel, because it says a prophet since Moses has not arrived in Israel. Okay, so that's the first point. Second point, it says that this prophet, like Moses, has to know God face to face. I want him to prove to me where the Quran ever says that Muhammad knew God face to face. In fact, he only knew the messenger boy, Jibril. He didn't know any Allah face to face. He didn't know God face to face.
Okay.
Third one.
Your time's up. But
okay.
Issue so far, what I've been told by Jihadist, that your argument is still not exegesis and professional principles. So maybe if you could get the passage from Michael Brown and put it in the area where he discussed that as an exegesis and not an argument, but an exegesis, and that would be great, and I'll address what Jihadist is. And since no one gave me a list of your qualms or your questions for Jihadist, how about we just go for now with Jihadist? But how with Jihadist? Why don't we just address the stone question for now, since I can't remember the rest of the questions? Does that sound good to you, Jihadist?
Sure.
How about this? Just since no one posed a question to you, here's this. He keeps saying that Deuteronomy chapter 18:15 is somehow different than the context in verse 18. So here's the challenge to him: read from verses 15 to 18. Okay, read Deuteronomy chapter 18 verses 15 to 18. And prove that those are two different prophets.
Okay. Did you hear that challenge, Jihadist?
I do. Yeah, but I'll answer his challenge.
I'll give you 2 minutes to complete this one. All right, and start.
All right. So here, watch and learn, Jay. See, I will not dodge any of your questions. I will answer them, and I want you to do the same with the exegesis part. Now, here, let's see here. First of all, first and foremost, let's take a look over here. Now, in terms of the black stone is a piece of heaven, right? It's a stone that arrived from heaven at the time of Adam. Now, over here, we can see that in terms of the stone, it's actually voluntary. Umar ibn Khattab, he says himself that he wouldn't have done it, right? He wouldn't have done it. In addition to that, again, this argument does not make any sense because it's contradictory to your position as well. Because we don't worship the black stone. We don't think it gives us any blessing. It's just sunnah to do it. We worship Allah. We don't say God is the stone. We don't say God is inside the Kaaba. We don't say that, right? So using this argument is nonsensical because then that would mean all Christians are pagan worshippers because they build statues of Jesus and pictures of Jesus and they kiss them and look to them and pray towards them. Now, first and foremost, in terms of now the second hadith, and may I request just a little bit extra time because he posed like three questions.
How much time do you request?
I request around 4 minutes because he asked very specific questions that require very.
Would you want me to add 2 more minutes? Or 4 minutes?
No. Not 4 minutes. Just him
2 more
going
minutes.
Wait, hold on.
Okay, I'll.
If he wants to go into a different point.
Hold on, Sin. Wait, hold on. Let me address something real quick. I don't think it's fair the fact that you're giving him more time when you gave the other dude a specific time. Why are you giving him a
because he has more questions than just one?
No. It doesn't matter. It should be an equal amount of time.
I only gave him one question to answer.
There should be an equal amount of time.
Specifically, I posed to him one question. I'm requesting from the moderator to extend it because he asked 3 questions that require.
No. I asked one question for you to address in this time period. The question is if you can read verses 15 to 18 and prove that that's a different prophet being spoken about between the 2 verses.
So you don't want me to address the hadith then?
Okay. Well, all right. Why don't we just address those other 2? All right. Since it seems like Jahil is confused, would you?
I know he's confused, but that's why I repeated the question again. If you can read chapter 18, verses 15 through 18, and prove that it's a different prophet.
Let's discuss this with Jihadist's interlocutor. Jai, would you be okay if I restarted this time so you could answer your one question? Would you?
That specific question, yes. That specific question.
Okay, Jai, so you answer that specific question, and I'll restart your time.
1815?
Huh?
Of 1815?
About Deuteronomy.
I'll ask it again.
Ask it again, and I'll restart your time.
Okay.
All right. So
here's the question. No, listen carefully to the question. Don't jump around it. Don't dance. Don't tap dance. Listen to the question. Don't run. If you read Deuteronomy chapter, this is what I want you to read. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 15 to 18, and prove that it's a different prophet. Then you win the debate.
All right, and time. I'm going to start it now.
Sure. Here, let's read together. The Lord your God will, this is 18:15, the Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among you, from your fellow Israelites. This one is talking about Israelites because it says Israelites today. Now let's go over to 16. For this is what you asked Lord your God at Horeb on the day of the assembly when he said, let us not hear the voice of our Lord, God not see the great fire, or we will die. 17. The Lord said to me, what they say is good. And then it says, what? In 18:18, it says something different now. It no longer says Israelites. It says, I will raise them up a prophet like you from among their brethren. And will from among their brethren. Like you from among their brethren. It no longer says Israelites. Why does it sanctify Israelites out? Why doesn't it repeat it? Why does God just exchange Israelites for their brethren? It shouldn't be that difficult for God to just repeat the same thing. Yes? Changing the words, changing Israelites to from their people to their brethren while he's telling this to Moses. Is Moses no longer part of them? Is Moses now what? He's no longer Jewish, he's now Russian, or he's now Italian or American or Native American or French? No, he's not. He's still Jewish. So when God tells Moses, who is a Jew, I'm going to bring them from their own people a prophet from among their brethren, not your brethren, from their brethren, this is obviously not referring to Jews. Moses is a Jew. It isn't like 1815 where he says your prophet. Yeah? So unless your argument is that Moses is no longer a Jew, he's now Italian, Russian, English, or as much as you evangelical Christians would love it if he was some sort of red brood American.
And time. Okay, time.
It couldn't be the case.
All right, and time.
Okay,
all right,
thank you.
Quick
So in verse 15, I'm so glad you did this. Listen to this, guys. He said in verse 15, that is an Israelite. You all heard him say that. He said that is an Israelite. And then he goes on to verse 18. He says, no, but this is from their brethren. These are two different groups. Now, I love that you just admitted that verse 15 is about the Israelites, because this is your ignorance of the original languages. In verse 15, when it says from your brethren, it says ma'achecha, which means from your brethren. Verse 18, from their brethren, achechehem. The same word that you said was referring to Israelites is referring to them, the same group of people. In Hebrew, just it's very similar to Arabic. When you have that pronoun hum or hem in Hebrew, it's referring back to that group of people. It's using the same word. You just embarrass yourself by reading the translation that translated as Israelites, and then you emphasize on the point. So, thank you for proving that this 18 is not referring to a different prophet, but it's referring to the same prophet like it is in verse 15, because it uses the same word. Because remember, you emphasize on the point. Why is it using a different word? Why is it using a different word? No, it's your translation that's different. In the Hebrew, they're identical words. Achehem, their brethren, me'achechecha, your brethren, the same exact words. So that's all I have to say. You just proved the point without even realizing it. Due to your ignorance.
Okay, I'll reset the time. Your turn, Jihadist.
Now, see, I knew that I'm going to have to teach you Arabic at some point, yeah? Because a lot of people have been telling me that you're really bad at Arabic. And I noticed that because you said something that is quite funny. Ilayhim.
No. That's not what I said.
Why are you interrupting me now? It seems like you're jumpy. Control yourself, Jay. Remember what you told me. Control yourself, Jay. Control yourself. It says here, it's ilayhum wa ilaykum is two different words. It's ilaykum refers to you, your group of people. Ilayhim refers to a different group of people. That means I'm pointing to someone else. If I say سوف أرفع من مجموعتكم مثلكم منكم أخو or أخوان منكم, that means from your group of people. If I say سوف أرفع نبيا من إخوتهم منهم, I'm no longer referring to your group of people. You can't even speak Arabic properly. Don't ever mention Arabic or Hebrew again. You can't speak either languages. You even said that there was a fundamental difference, and then you said they're the same word. I have this recorded, Jay. Why are you embarrassed? This is literally going to be posted everywhere. You just contradicted yourself. Now, once again, if you want to prove your point is correct, Jay, instead of dodging and jumping around like a fish and trying to act like an expert on Arabic, like an idiot, but not being able to, I'm going to repeat the question again. If you are correct in this sentiment, of which, by the way, you struggle to even translate into Arabic and danced around like a monkey, it says, Deuteronomy 18:18, from their brethren. I pose this question again to you. If you are right, it's that easy. Exegesis. Now, it's not that difficult, Jay. Now I have to resort to calling you to the level that you stoop to. Exegesis, please. I'm not allowing you to change the goalpost again.
Okay, and time.
Okay. So, the word is me'echechecha, which means from your brother, and that's Hebrew. I don't know where you're hearing Arabic from. That's Hebrew. From your brethren. You don't know Hebrew, and from listening to your Arabic is laughable. Okay, when it says achehem, that's referring to the same group of brothers, but their group. When I say your brothers in English or any other language, your brothers, and then another person speaks, and now the God is the speaker, he says their brethren. From amongst their brethren. It's the same group of people. You don't realize that you just disproved your own argument. You said yourself that verse 15, because you're relying on a translation, because you don't know the original languages, you're relying on a translation that says from Israelites. But if you go back to the Hebrew, it's the same word. So you proved verse 15 is about the Israelites. Thank you. Then verse 18, you made the point, why isn't it using the same word? Why isn't it using the same word if it's talking about the same group of people? It is, Ya Rabbi, Ya Ahbal. It's using the same word. You just don't know the language because you're a Jahil, like your Prophet Muhammad. You don't know how to read or write the original languages of the Bible. Okay, that's all I have to say. I think it's clear to the audience, and I'm thank you to Unknown for recording it on my end. That's all I have to say to him. He's just going to keep repeating the same points. The audience can judge who answered the questions and who is the fool. Don't interrupt. No. Don't get excited. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. Don't get excited. Now you can talk.
Listen, this is your new name, Jay.
Okay, Jihadist, let Jai finish.
He did. He just said I can talk, right?
Okay, so all right. 1 second.
Now, there's a new name for you, Jay, right? We're all going to call you Jahil Jai. Okay? You're the new Jahil Jai. Okay? Now listen, Jahil Jai. I'm going to repeat this again for you. Okay? Ilaykum or ilayhum are two different words. It seems now you're getting salty because my Arabic is superior to yours because you've been sitting in America for so long. Your Arabic has gone rusty. Instead of stooping down to your level and insulting Isa ibn Maryam, I'm not going to do that because I love Isa ibn Maryam. And I tend to follow his example by not insulting prophets. I tend to just insult stupidity like your Bible does in Proverbs when he calls people like you fools. Now, as it says right here, you refused, Mr. Jahil Jai, to answer the exegesis question again. So I'm going to put in a request for the moderator, Sin. Sin, if he doesn't answer, I want to interrupt him again, right? And I want to pose the question again and again for Jahil Jai. The second thing that I wanted to present, Mr. Jahil Jai, Ilaykum, I'm going to repeat this part for you because it seems that you're bad at understanding just formalized Arabic. Ilaykum refers to your group of people. Ilayhim refers to a different group of people other than yourself. If I say Ilaykum refers to you. Ilayhim refers to them. You see that small thing in the end? That doesn't mean it's the same word, Mr. Jahil Jai. See, I knew this is going to be an Arabic lesson because this is what happens when people go live in the US for 50 years and then they come back and think they're experts on Arabic. Yeah? Now, Mr. Sin, if you may be very kind of you, to reiterate the question that I have posed, which he still, by the way, this is now, according to the how many times I've written down on this paper, 18th time I'm asking Jahil Jai, the 18th time I'm asking Jahil Jai for his exegesis to prove the point he's making. If it's that simple, it shouldn't be that hard. Okay, Jahil Jai, do it, Jahil Jai. I believe in you. Wallahi, I believe in you. You can do it.
Okay. So apparently, all the audience is getting upset.
Sin, I want to address a few things.
Okay.
Before this whole thing continues, you cannot add harm, dude. Jihad, I know that you like calling people fools and idiots and this and that, but that's not going to happen here, bro. It's not. And if that's what you're going to continue doing, it's not going to flow. And same thing with the other person.
Okay, wait, okay, guys.
Chill for a second. I want to tell you something. You have to mod this equally. And if you're giving time, the time must be equal. And you cannot allow someone to insult the other person.
Okay, all right, where's the rulings against this so far? I'll check with Aziz, but so far, for the moment being, since this is in question, Jihadist and Jai, just don't insult anybody for the moment being, and so far, Jai, Jihadist isn't satisfied with so far your entering of the exegesis, so you might want to address that again. All right, I'll go ahead and restart the time. It's your time now, Jai.
Okay, let me repeat the point again from verses 15 to 18. So the word is not alayhim, it's me'echechecha, your brethren. It's Hebrew, not Arabic. Don't confuse languages, okay? It's your brethren in the Hebrew. So when Moses is speaking here, it says, a prophet of the Lord thy God will raise up from among thee. That phrase, from among thee, I'll just keep it in English, from among thee and from the midst of thee, from thy brethren like unto me. Those phrases are specifically only ever used of Israelites, ever in the Hebrew Bible. This is the original thing that I said, which you haven't come back and in fact, you haven't answered any of the points. The only thing you attempted to answer was smooching the black stone, which you were wrong on that. But let me come back on this point. Verse 16, 17, 18, same exact topic. Now it's God speaking. The only difference is Moses is speaking directly, and now God is speaking directly. God is speaking and says, I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee. Unto who? Unto thee. Unto Moses. So God is speaking to Moses. So when it says that a prophet from the Lord thy God will be raised up unto thee from the midst of thee, from thy brethren, like unto me, that's the same prophet in verse 18. You can't get around it. And you have no commentary or exegesis interpretation that says that these are referring to different people. Okay, now here's a point that I want to press now on him. Moses teaches that God is our Father. Moses teaches that God is our Father. If you're following God, the true God of Israel, not the pagan gods. Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 1, 32, verse 6, 32, verse 18. Why did Muhammad contradict the theology of Moses if he's the prophet like Moses? That's the question I want him to answer.
Time. Okay. Again, got the question, Jihadist? All right, I'll say it for you.
Sure. Here, I'll let Sin tell you what you did wrong. Okay. All right.
Jihadist, please just address. Jihadist, just why don't you address him? I'll reset your time. All right, I'm starting in time.
Well, the thing is, right, is that he still failed to answer the Deuteronomy 18:18 question. I'm still waiting on that exegesis, Jahil Jai. We're still waiting. And we still have not received that. And yes, I will continue asking you for that exegesis because it's the one thing that proves your argument correct. If you cannot find it, Jahil Jai, then you are wrong. And as I said previously, you can say smooch black stone, Prophet Muhammad this and that. I'm not going to stoop to your level and begin insulting your prophets or say that you smooch Jesus statues. Right? I'm not going to do that. But I will call you Jahil Jai before continuing to refuse to answer the simplest
Jihadist, please quit calling him that because I'm not sure if Jai, if you're getting upset about it, but other people are. So can you please avoid the insults for now?
Well, I'm sorry, with all due respect, all the Muslims here are angry based off what he said of the Prophet. I think what I'm saying is fully unjustified.
Why doesn't Jai just not longer say anything about the Prophet and you no longer say anything about him?
The deed's already done, my friend. Like I said, I want the exegesis that he posts. Once Jahil Jai manages to do that, I will gladly just accept his promise. But he's struggling to provide an exegesis.
Okay, is it my turn?
His time's not up, but if he's letting you go, then you can go.
May I ask, Sin, please make him get that exegesis.
Can't make him do anything. I can only give him time to explain himself.
Okay, this is according to Pius. Let's get Arman in the DC show.
All right, are you allowing John to go? Okay.
Yeah, this guy keeps changing the moderator. He's trying to change the moderator now.
As long as the
because he can't get his way. No, don't interrupt. Let me talk. Okay, so the commentary that you keep requesting, I gave to you. I told you, Maimonides himself refutes you. Go through Maimonides' treatise on the passage. He directly refutes the idea that Muhammad is referred to in Deuteronomy chapter 18. The guy that you're referring to, by the way, if you're saying insult when I called him Majnun or something, that's Maimonides, the guy you appealed to. If Muslims who are getting upset that Muhammad was called Majnun or crazy, that's not me. That's the guy that he keeps appealing to. I'm quoting what he says. He said that the Arabs, the Ishmaelites, he's referring to the Muslims, are claiming that the madman, because that's how he referred to Muhammad, he called him the madman, is in Deuteronomy chapter 18, and he goes on to refute that. So I know you keep saying that, it's chapter 18, verse 15, because you're reading, again, your ignorance of the original languages. He didn't write in English. He didn't write the verse divisions, okay? So I don't know how many times I have to tell you that the Bible is not written in the way that you're reading today in terms of chapters and verses. So Semitic language scholar, Messianic Jew, Michael Brown writes, Deuteronomy 18 tells us that the Lord would raise up such a prophet from his people. But Deuteronomy 34 tells us that in the fullest sense, no prophet arose. It's quite natural then for the Jewish people to reflect on these passages in the Torah and ask, where then is that prophet like Moses? Where is that leader to whom the Lord will speak to face and work wonders and signs to deliver us from bondage? This is a Messianic Jewish scholar who keep asking for an exegesis. He's a commentator, he's an exegete, and he's a linguist. And he's telling you what the words mean in the original language. So I know you don't know how to answer the question. That's why you keep sticking to your same point, because you can't refute anything else that I'm saying. I asked you a question. I said, how can Muhammad be the prophet like Moses if he Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead. Jahidist, please keep ad hominem down, okay? Please.
Well, I'm not. First of all, definitionally, ad hominem means saying he's wrong.
Insult down. Okay, anyway, continue.
Now, I'm gonna again. He's still faultily refusing to answer the question. To talk about the exegesis part. Again, let's open his debate and let's take a look at the same proof he sent me, which I highlighted, by the way. We can take a look. Right? I'm asking for an exegesis. I'm not asking about an argument. I'm not asking about someone's comment. I'm asking about a full-fledged exegesis. Definitionally, in here, I'll get you the definition of an exegesis because I think you're struggling now, and you're trying to make just any argument to suit your behalf, Jahil Jai. So here, Jahil Jai, it's okay. I will teach you.
Jihad, please quit calling him that.
Here, it says here, well, as long when those Muslims that got muted in the text channel get unmuted for calling him Jahil Jai after he insulted the Prophet, I will gladly put that.
Oh, Jihad. Oh, dude, I told you many times, dude.
Pious,
no,
please.
No. You cannot continue the debate when there's no boundaries at this point.
Thank you.
The Prophet first. Jay insulted the Prophet first. All right.
Pious, Arman. Pious,
listen.
Arman is here. Pious, Arman is here. Okay. So I suggest you hush down, sit in your little baby Catholic chair, and be quiet.
Guy, quit. Okay, Pious, quit it. Quit it. All right. Now let's. All right. Are you done with your comment, or should I? All right.
No, I want to continue, please. Right?
All right.
Because
are you about?
Yes. Now, I wasn't referring to his insult about Muhammad being Maimundezes. According to his words, which I have on recording here, actually, he said, "I am not a jahil or an idiot like your prophet." Right. So I said, "Okay, my prophet's a jahil, no problem." I gave him a nickname, Jahil Jai. I don't think that's an insult. I'm calling him arrogant. That is no insult by any means. If he's being arrogant and he's not providing exegesis, which is the dictionary definition of arrogance, then he is jahil.
Time. All right, time. All right, your turn, Jai.
Okay, thank you. My comment, just to clarify, my comment was specifically in the context of being able to read the original languages of the Bible. What's so ironic about this? The passage we're talking about in chapter 7, verse 157, it calls Muhammad illiterate. That's what I was talking about. So just like you can't read the original languages, your prophet couldn't read the original languages. My friend, I'm sorry, that's called ignorance. So if you're that was the context of that. Now, if you think you're getting under my skin by calling me jahil, feel free. I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. But I'm not the mod. I'm not the one who makes the rules in the server. So if they're telling you not to do it, that's between them and you. Now, I provided many points to show why this cannot refer to Muhammad, and here's one I want you to explain to respond to specifically. In chapters 14, verse 1 of Deuteronomy, the same book that you appealed to, which I know you'll regret and you'll never do it in the future because you're embarrassed by the end of this night. I hope that you release this recording. I really hope you upload it because it's going to embarrass you and all the Muslims in the text that are supporting you. If you go to Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 1, 32, verse 6, and 32, verse 18, it talks about God being a father to the Israelites. Muhammad said that Allah is a father to no one in chapters 1935, 518, 4681. You can go to all those passages. It's being recorded. Look them up. Muhammad taught that Allah is not a father. Don't interrupt. Don't get excited.
2 minutes are over.
It says that Allah said in the Quran that he's not a father to anybody, according to Muhammad.
Okay, Jahil.
According to Moses says that God is a father. So if Muhammad is the prophet like Moses, why is he contradicting the theology of Moses?
Because
Jihadist, let it finish.
He's done. His 2 minutes are actually...
I want you to respond to that point.
He still has 8 seconds left, Jihadist. Let him finish.
Sure, go ahead. You done, Jay?
That's the point that I want you to respond to. Explain how he can contradict Moses' theology if he's the prophet like Moses.
Okay, that's time.
Okay, Jahil Jai. Now, Jahil Jai, first of all, 1, still did not respect one. 2,
Jihadist, please quit calling him that. I asked you for the third time. Please quit calling him that.
As I said, and I will continue advocating for calling. In fact, I'm going to ask every Muslim here to call him Jahil Jai until all those Muslims who were muted for responding to his insult on the Prophet gets unmuted. So until then, he is going to be known as Jahil Jai, right? And he said he's not offended by it. So by all means, if he's okay with being called Jahil Jai, I will call him Jahil Jai. Now, this is going in a circular argument, so it seems like it's going nowhere. But I will going to explain this, right? Because at this point, it's turning into mob behavior, right, with Jahil Jai. All I'm asking is for something very simple, Jay. And we are going to release the recording. And it's not going to embarrass me, it's going to embarrass you, right? Because you are struggling to provide one single thing and rambling on about this, and that. As I told you 500 times now. Listen very closely. Open your ear. I don't care what Maimonides gave Muhammad in terms of nicknames. I care about his exposition on the 18:18 verse. He is saying, as per the commentary that I've sent, it refers to non-Jews, mentioning that he insulted Muhammad. That does not change the fact that the verse is talking about non-Jews. You are making an opposite claim. You are giving me arguments from an individual or philosophy books that the philosophy book doesn't even agree with you. If everyone just opens the debate chat, they can see it says the same thing that I've been saying. And I've asked for the moderation around several times to provide me with the picture or the link or even just the tiniest bit of evidence to the exegesis that says from their brethren equals an Israelite. It's not that difficult. It's really not that difficult. It's honestly just not that difficult. Now, I'm going to put in this request because this is now the 22nd time, and we will continue doing this, Jay, until you get tired and leave the VC. The exegesis, right, please.
Time is up. Time is up. Okay.
On the 18:18 verse.
Okay. Right, okay. So he didn't answer my question, but I'll keep going back to this. So the philosophy book that I cited to you, actually it describes that passage referring to every single Jew in existence, because according to Jewish beliefs, the context is about Mount Sinai, and they believe that every soul of every Jewish person was on Mount Sinai. So there's a prophetic soul, a divine soul in the Jewish people. That's how the commentary understands it. So they're not saying it's a non-Israelite. They're saying that it is an Israelite. So this is a Jewish source. You haven't given any Jewish sources that say that it's not about an Israelite. What you gave is not Maimonides. I know you keep saying it is, but if you listen to, everyone can go back. I'm glad it's being recorded. Go back. He said this is a commentary on what Maimonides says. This is a commentary. And the commentary on what Maimonides says is not what Maimonides said. But secondly, it doesn't say what you're claiming it says, because you're not giving the full quote. I wonder why. You're being dishonest with it. Okay. Now, this is the question that I have for you. I want you to answer it. If Muhammad is the prophet like Moses, why did he contradict the theology of Moses? Moses said that God is our father. Muhammad said that Allah is a father to no one, and the highest relationship you can have with him is a slave to master relationship. In chapter 19, verse 93. Chapter 19, verse 93 says the highest relationship you can have with God is a slave to master relationship. Moses said, no, God is our father. So how can he be the prophet like Moses if he doesn't believe in the theology of Moses? Stop running away. You're embarrassing yourself. Answer the question. My time's up. Go ahead.
Right. Again, this is just going in circles. You're just repeating your question instead of answering mine. I've posed the question first. Now, this is the 23rd time I'm asking you to answer it, Jahil Jai. It directly says their brethren. Now, I'm telling you, yes, it is a commentary on what Maimonides said. And you yourself actually later on in the recording directly said, this isn't even what Maimonides said. This is a commentary on Maimonides, which is recorded, guaranteed. This is going to be displayed everywhere. But my question still stands. Give me the Jewish exegesis, man. It's that easy. I'm not going to address all the circles and loops and mental gymnastics you do. At this point, I'm just going to keep repeating the question until you get tired and go home, Jay. So once again, Jahil Jai, I present the same question. Where's the exegesis? And by the way, may I request, because I think this is now becoming tiring for the moderation team, to cut this timer thing, because I don't think he's gonna get it, right? Because now we're just going 2 minutes back and forth of not answering questions, right? So I'm not gonna abide by the timing thing anymore, because I think it's doing us no good. So Jahil Jai, please provide the exegesis.
Okay, is your time up?
It's not up, but I'll go and reset it. But do you guys want to cut the timer? Okay. I'll check on that for now. I'll check on that for now. Let's just keep with the timer so we don't upset.
I have a question. Wasn't Jihadist warned several times not to refer to Jai as Jahil Jai? And why is that not being followed through?
Sure, Paladin.
I thought
this was a fair and balanced debate. Moderators, do your job. This is ridiculous. And he's threatening mob. He's threatening the mob if he doesn't get his way. What kind of... This is BS, man. This is BS. There's no justification for it. Stop intimidating the...
Shut the fuck up, man.
Oh, you're swearing. Stop intimidating.
Mod speaking.
All right, there we go. Okay.
The not only do admins positions above you...
Let the moderator speak. The moderator said speaking.
Okay. For the last
I'm talking to Palindrome, right? I'm trying to talk to Palindrome, please. Palindrome.
Yo, the moderator said he wants to speak, dude. Be quiet. Be quiet.
Admin, I'm talking to Palindrome. Shush, Jay. Palin, the owner and the admins who are above you in position, with all due respect, and this is not like an insult to you or degrading or anything. I know you're a good guy, and I know you have only good intentions. Earlier, in a recording, actually, that I can actually bring up for you, he proceeded to insult the Prophet. Afterwards,
bring it up then. Bring it up.
Yeah,
bring it up.
Oh, okay, no problem. Everyone who here was recording? From
Okay, bring it up. You said you have it. Bring it up.
Correct. Sure.
I challenge you to bring it up because the context that I said it in was you said ignorant, and I'm saying ignorance is according by definition, it's being illiterate. That's ignorance.
Which of the Muslims were recording here? Let's.
You just said you were recording. Whoa! Wait! You said you were recording. Are you not recording?
I said it's being recorded.
Are you? No, you said you're okay. Now you're being recorded, and you just said you're recording. So now you're lying, and that's on recording.
Well, enough. Everyone stop talking, or I'm gonna go on a mass mute. Okay. I don't care what happened in the past. What happened in the past does not justify what is happening now. It does not matter how bad the past was. It does not give you a justification to act horrible in the present. Every insult, no matter where it comes from, has to cease. The next in time I hear anyone insulted, there will be an action taken. Am I understood?
Yes. And so if he gets sneaky and tries to insult in Arabic, we'll let you know in the text because he likes to be deceptive.
Okay. Also, I want to say something before we restart this. I want to say something. The motion to do just to remove the timer has been denied. We're still going to do the timer because it's going to get more chaotic if we don't. So let's keep it. Anywho, all right. Everyone done? Everyone agree to not insult each other?
Yes, I agree.
Do you, Jihadist?
Oh well, in my defense, I don't think. Can you tell me in terms of the why Jahil is an insult?
You also said Rabbi as well. So why don't you translate what that means?
Yeah, I admit, Rabbi was an insult towards you. I didn't say that except like maybe
don't say
1 hour
when you just insult.
I told you that 1 hour ago, way before any of this started, and I stopped calling you that. Now I call you Jahil Jai, and Jahil is not an insult.
Let's just not call him these names, okay? It's apparently.
Excuse me. Wait. Excuse me. If Jahil's not an insult, then I didn't insult Muhammad. So thank you. Don't get mad. I insulted him if I didn't insult him.
Then let's just cease the insults and I'll start. Who was it? Who the timer was on?
Yeah, it was my turn.
Okay, let's let him do it. All right, I'm starting now.
Go ahead.
Okay. So another commentary. It says, Sturdengall has shown that the verb in Deuteronomy 18:15 and in verse 18 is to be understood as the distributive sense, i.e., will raise up from time to time, and does not refer to a single future event. So this is me commenting now, not the commentary. This is in accordance and understanding with the Jewish interpretation that this is referring to a national Jewish prophet. So Moses, Joshua, etc., Jeremiah, Isaiah. This is referring in a general sense, Jeremiah chapter 18:15 and 18:18, to a general nation prophet. So it's not referring to a prophet outside of Israel. You have no comment or anything from Jewish sources that say that. In fact, they say the exact opposite, what I'm reading right here. It says the verse is a general reflection on the history and significance of prophecy in Israel, in which prophets are understood in relation to Moses and legitimated through the connection to the proclamation with the law that was given through him. So, with the law that was given to him, end quote. Now, the question again, stop running away from the question. People see that you're not answering the question. Moses taught that God is our father. Muhammad taught that Allah is not our father, and that the highest relationship we can have to him is a slave to master. So the Muslims in the text and the Muslims that are here listening, ask yourselves why he's not answering this question, because I know he won't answer. So I'm just, I'm appealing to your conscience, to the Muslims listening. He won't answer. Ask yourselves why he won't answer. If Muhammad is the prophet like Moses, why did he contradict what Moses taught? How can you be like him if you didn't teach like him? In fact, you taught something contrary to him. So my question to you, I think my time's about to run out. The question is, why did Muhammad teach that God is not our father when Moses taught that God is our father?
And time, okay.
Okay, so first and foremost, I don't understand why you're committing the two-coque fallacy, right? Which is you saying, hey, I'm not going to answer your question. Instead, you provide evidence. I mean, this is going in circles, dude. We're asking, right? We're saying, listen, dude, so far, you sent a philosophy book, you sent a comment by some random dude, and then you sent a comment from a messianic Jew. And it's all comments, arguments, philosophy books, and other stuff. Even in your own philosophy, I don't know why you keep mentioning the philosophy book. I told you it's arbitrary. I don't care about the philosophy book. It's, I want an exegesis. Everyone here, yes, all of the Muslims here, are still standing on this understanding of where is this magical exegesis you are talking about. Is it a Disneyland story? Is it Cinderella's shoe? Is it the Shia Mahdi who disappears for 1,000 years? We don't know. We're asking you for something very, very simple. Yes? We're saying, my friend, we want one simple thing. Okay? We want the Jewish exegesis. Look, people in the chat are telling you, Jay still cannot provide an exegesis. We want that exegesis. I will not rest this case until there's an exegesis on it. All you have to do to prove me wrong, I'm giving you the opportunity. Here's the blueprints, Jay. Okay? All you have to do to disprove me is this. Put it in your head. Think of it as a dream. The Jewish exegesis. It's right there in front of you. That's all you need to do. Go ahead. There you
go. Can I ask
time? Or wait, okay. Wait, okay. Jai, will you? Okay, just ask your question. Wait.
Yeah. So you can see that I actually read two commentaries, one from a Messianic scholar, another one from the New Century Bible, and he's still asking for commentaries, but he's not answering my questions. So I'm just going to keep raising my questions, not for him because he's not going to answer them. He's afraid to. He doesn't know how to answer them. He doesn't have enough knowledge. But for the Muslims here, for the listeners' sake, I'm just going to keep repeating the points for you guys, so you guys can see he has no case. He's not going to answer it, but that's fine. I'm talking to all the Muslims that are here, all the non-Christians who want to know the answer to the question. So if Muhammad is the prophet like Moses, he has to teach like Moses. I give 3 examples of how he taught things that are contrary to the law of Moses. One, by his sunnah, by his example, by his life, by kissing and smooshing black stones. Moses specifically says that if you do that, Leviticus chapter 26, verse 1 says not to raise up sacred stones. Specifically says do not raise up for yourself sacred stones. Muhammad raised up a sacred stone and he smooched it, kissed it. Okay, that's against the law of Moses. Another thing against the law of Moses is in chapter 24 of the book of Deuteronomy. The same book of Deuteronomy he appealed to. He appealed to the book of Deuteronomy. This same book says that if a man divorces his wife and she marries another man and she divorces that man and tries to go back to the original husband, that's an abomination before God. That's exactly what Muhammad taught in chapter 2, verse 230 in the Quran. So he's teaching things that are abominations to the God of Moses. So Muhammad is not a prophet like Moses. He didn't serve the God of Moses. He didn't worship the God of Moses. Another point. What does it mean to be like Moses? In chapter 34, verse 10, it tells us specifically what it means to be like Moses. It means to know the Lord face to face. Panim el panim means face to face. A person.
Sorry.
Okay.
You go ahead, Jihadist.
Right. So now, since he moved on from this topic, which is great for Mr. J here, we'll have to. Well, since he wasn't able to provide the exegesis and instead went on a tirade, let's address his rock question. First of all, since he keeps bringing up this hadith and then trying to change the topic and goalposts and run around from it. First of all, no, we're not like the Catholic Church. We don't kiss stones. We don't pray to stones, right? Otherwise, you would be disqualifying your own religion actually by saying that, right? What we are saying is that this stone is a piece of heaven, and touching it is fine. You'd be touching a piece of heaven. This isn't an issue. We don't worship the stone. In fact, the stone has been lost for multiple times. We didn't care. Even the Kaaba itself, you'd think the black box, the box itself is holy. No, it's not. The box has been destroyed multiple times. The area is holy. Yes? But in terms of the father thing that you brought up, first of all, to Moses, it didn't mean that the father had a literal son. It means that all the Jews are children of God. That's literally what modern Jews believe today. And you still have not provided that exegesis. We will continue asking you for this exegesis in every line of questioning, and I will answer your questions as well and all your objections. But I did want to shed light to this and the following. Is that while this man has capped nearly all of my questions, by the way, I'm going to present this to the Christians here. In terms of the black stone, no, we don't worship it. It doesn't hold any value other than it being a point of heaven. Yes, we do acknowledge that there is a, in terms of figuratively, that everyone is the children of God. And we
sorry, Jihadist.
Okay. It's as simple as that.
Thank you. Okay. So I'm glad he finally started to answer the question, because now he's going to start getting himself in trouble. Okay. What he said is he agreed that we kiss the black stone because it's from heaven. We believe that it's from heaven. I'm glad you admitted that. If you read the law of Moses, it says, do not set up images or sacred stones for yourself. Do not do that. Do not bow down to them. So thank you for confirming that Muhammad is not the prophet like Moses. Let's move on to the next verse, because you yourself just proved it by that very exactly what you just said. If you just listen to yourself, you prove the point that Muslims by bowing down and smooching the black stone, kissing the black stone because it fell from heaven or because it comes from heaven, proves that that's not a teaching of Moses. It's not in accordance with the law of Moses. Okay, now you were about to make another mistake, and I'm glad your time got cut off, because you were about to make another mistake and talk about you believe that you're God's children in a metaphorical sense. In chapter 5, verse 18 in the Quran, it says Jews and Christians say that we're the children of God, his beloved, and then it rebuts them. And it says, then why does he punish you for your sins? Rather, you're human beings from among those whom he created. So Jews and Christians in Muhammad's time were saying that they're the children of God because they're following the law of Moses, because that's what Moses taught. Moses taught that we're God's children. Muhammad comes along and says, don't say that, because he punishes you for your sins and you're amongst those whom he has created. Okay, so if Muhammad, again, here's the question. If Muhammad is the prophet like Moses, why is he contradicting the theology of Moses? Obviously, Jews and Christians didn't believe that they were literal biological children of God. Of course, it's metaphorical here. Of course, it's figurative. But yet, the Quran rebuts that idea and says that, no, the only relationship you can have to God is slave to master.
Okay,
no
okay.
Such thing.
Also, one question for both of y'all. Would you like me to, so you guys can wrap this up easier, would you like me to give you a 10-second warning?
I did want to just answer one of his objections.
Well, okay, but first, can you answer my question? Would you guys like a 10-second? Would you guys like a 10-second warning, just so it's easy for you to get a wrap up when you're trying to get your points over with?
Wait, hold on. Why was Ariel banned?
10 seconds left on your time. Do you want to?
Hold on. Why was Ariel banned? I just want to for the mods who.
I have no idea. But would you? I haven't touched that. But do you want?
Wait, I need to know. I need to know because the reason why this guy didn't want to come, because originally we were told. I just want to let the mods know. Originally we were told by someone else, not from Jihadist himself. So I'm not saying he said this, but we were told by other people that he wanted to come to our server and debate us. Okay. And so we wanted that to happen, but he didn't want to do that, so we told him to come over here. So one of the conditions of us coming over here was that all of our Christian group could be together and we could record the discussion together. Okay. So now that one of the Christians that I invited over got banned, I mean we can't continue the discussion.
Okay. Well, then you
Jay, just message me about that. I'll talk to you over text about that. Okay.
Okay. Let's continue this. Okay.
No, wait, because I don't trust the Muslim recordings of this. So I need to make sure that my people are in here recording it, and if they're getting banned, then I can't do this. I know
your people in here to record at the moment.
Well, if Ariel's going to get banned, I'm sorry, I can't continue in here. But if Jihadist wants to come to our server, we can debate in there, and we're not going to mute him, and we're going to give him equal time.
Hey, listen, I'm a Christian. I will say this.
So base, bro. Send it to me. I can look
Ariel
into it.
in the
user. Just send me the
chat disrespected the rules of the server. I saw it in the chat.
Okay.
So they probably.
Okay. Well, like I said, it was one of the conditions of the debate to bring him over here.
So. Too far.
Yeah.
Let's here. Okay. Let's first.
Was the debate over?
Yeah, we can, if Ariel doesn't come back, we have to end it here, just because that was one of the conditions that I said.
But by the way, in all recordings there was no condition of the search. But let's talk about the
debate's over then.
Okay. Yeah, the debate's over. So I just want to extend and open the invitation to Jihadist. If you want to come to the server, you're welcome to.
Hey, Jai.
You're going to be treated.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Number one, you can't advertise in the server. No, that's where you make a mistake. I'm going to answer your question now. You may take your leave if you want. Don't advertise.
Whoa! I just got served.
Now what I did want to mention. Yeah. Hello.
I just wanted to let Jai know that I'm still here.
Yeah, I know. Just watch out because he's just going to advertise. Yeah. Now, what's it called? Here's
Ariel's here.
Oh, okay. Well, why did it say he got banned? I thought he got banned.
Oh, he's not banned. Okay.
He's not banned, Jay. Don't worry, your buddy's here.
Oh, my bad. I'm so sorry.
Okay,
it said Ariel has been warned. I'm sorry. It said Ariel has been warned. I'm sorry.
Debate's still on. Okay. The debate's still on.
Yeah.
On the top.
Yeah, my bad. That was my mistake. It said he was warned. I thought it was banned.
Whose turn is it then? Also,
I was responding to him. And I was giving him the response. So it's his turn.
Okay. Also, back to my question: do you guys want a 10-second warning so you can wrap up when you're about to be at the end of your time?
Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Okay, I'll give you both a 10-second warning. Yeah, who is going?
All right, I'll go on and answer his little objection.
Okay, Jihadist, go ahead.
First of all, no, that does not contradict anything, because now you are pre-assuming that if something is from heaven has been corrupted by sin, hence why it turned black, it is so sacred. First of all, I challenge you to bring me one hadith that says the stone itself is sacred. In fact, Umar ibn Khattab himself, actually, this is the stone in the hadith. Umar ibn Khattab, let's pull it up here. Look, he says right here. In fact, he says right here, came to the stone, and he said, because this is what he... Look at this. And I'll put this in, I'll proceed to put this in debate chat. Let's take a look here. Abis ibn Rabi'a reported Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh came to the black stone and he kissed it. Umar said, "Verily, I know you are only a stone with no power or harm. See, no power to harm nor benefit me. Were it not that I saw the Prophet kiss you, I would not have kissed you." So even he dismisses it as something that isn't sacred. I don't know where you're getting the part sacred. Moses said, "Do not set up sacred stones." Sacred stones. This isn't sacred. It's been stolen multiple times. I can literally promise you it's been stolen, broken, scrapped multitudes of times. In fact, the original pieces as a whole are missing, right? The ones that we have right now is just like one piece of it. It was much bigger back then, right? So the factor that you don't even know that is funny. Second of all, that would invalidate your belief, Jay. You just dissed all Catholics without realizing it. Because Moses also says, right, as you said, set up no sacred stone. So with you saying that, you would now definitionally be an iconoclast.
All right, you have 10 seconds.
We would now have to destroy every Jesus statue, every Jesus portrait, and every understanding of any stone that depicts Jesus Christ. Because then, according to this prophecy that you even brought up,
time's up.
Jesus is no longer a prophet.
Jihadist, time's up. All right, time for Jai.
So notice the hadith he appealed to. It says exactly what I've been saying, that Muhammad smooched the black stone. And that's by my point the entire time. I don't care what you think about it, because first you're saying that it came from heaven, and now you're saying that it has no benefit or no power in it. So I don't care how you view it. That's not the point. The point is the action behind it. It doesn't matter how you view it personally. The point is that your prophet kissed the stone. He bowed down to the stone. In the book of Leviticus, the same law of Moses that you're appealing to, in chapter 18, verse 18 of Deuteronomy, where it says the prophet will be like Moses, also says that you're not to set up for yourself a stone. And by the way, this Hebrew, I challenge you to pull up any dictionary of the Hebrew language. The word aven does not mean sacred stone, it just means stone. It's not, there's no such thing as sacred stone or holy stone or anything like that in the verse. Again, this is your ignorance of the original language. You don't know the original language, so don't comment on it, please. Stick to the fact that you Muslims smooched the black stone because your prophet did. And because your prophet smooched the black stone, that's proof and evidence that he's not the prophet like Moses. Furthermore, the Quran teaches in chapter 5, verse 18, that Allah is not, or God is not the father of anybody in a metaphoric, in any figurative sense at all. Not just a literal sense, but even in a metaphorical sense, even in a figurative sense. The rebuttal to people who said they were God's children in a figurative sense is, why does God punish you for your sins? So in other words, if you're God's child, why does he punish you for your sins? Then it says, you're human beings from among those whom he created. So because you're created, that's the evidence that you're not one of God's children. This is obviously being spoken of as a rebuttal in the figurative sense of the use of the word children of God. So your prophet goes against Moses by smooching the black stone when Moses said not to do that. And your prophet goes against Moses when he says that God is not our father. So your prophet is not the prophet like Moses.
And your time is up. Okay.
So you went on a 10-second tirade talking about smooching. And I realize you love the word smooching, okay, and all. But I don't know what is it with you and smooching, man. You need to be educated so badly, Jay. So here. First of all, yes, it is the point, because you made the claim that it is sacred. And you said this violates what Moses said, because set up no sacred stones. So yes, it is the point. It doesn't matter if I smooch a rock. If I have a pet rock at home and I smooch it all the time, I kiss it, that doesn't change. That doesn't mean it's sacred. What the hell are you talking about? Right? If I smooch a stone, that doesn't mean it's sacred to me. If it's a piece of heaven, and I want to touch a piece of heaven, want to feel its texture on my body or whatever, that's irrelevant from it being sacred or not. It has no power. It has no harm or benefit. It isn't sacred. It isn't holy. It's been corrupted by sin. That's why it turned black to begin with. People just touch it for the understanding that the Rasul did. That's all. Even Umar ibn Khattab, you failed to address the hadith and said, this isn't the point that it's sacred or not. It's not the point. Moses said, set up no sacred stone. Now let's make a textual analysis here and compare. Let's see who has a sacred stone. I provided the hadith that this stone actually has no power or harm to benefit. Can you explain to me why you put a giant Jesus statue around your churches? Right? And why do you guys literally go up to it and make your prayers? Because that seems to be sacred. Now, Jay, what if I told you, I want you to answer yes or no. If we now grab a hammer together, right? Because let's agree with each other. I 100% agree. I will smash a piece of the black stone if you smash all of your Jesus
10
idols.
seconds, Jihadist, 10
seconds. It should be that simple, right? So since we both are in agreement and there is no disagreement that the stone isn't sacred.
And time. Okay, time for
John.
Then we should agree.
So you can smash your black stone all you want to. I don't care. The point is, your prophet smooched the black stone. He kissed the black stone. Okay, that's the point. Because your prophet smooched the black stone means that he's not the prophet like Moses. I know you want to get around that point. You keep jumping around like jumping jacks. I'm not gonna escape this point. This is the proof that your prophet is not the prophet like Moses. Moses says, "Do not do this." Your prophet does that. Moses says, Do not teach that a man can marry a woman after he divorced her and she divorces another man. And your prophet said, do that in chapter 2, verse 230. He justified it. That's what it's called. The justify. This is the title of the man who does that in Arabic, the justifier, the one who makes it halal. So another point that you haven't addressed is the fact that your God says that your God says in your book that he's not the father to anybody, even in a metaphorical sense, even in a figurative sense. So your prophet can in no way, for those three reasons, and the context of Deuteronomy 18, cannot be the prophet like Moses. So chapter 7, verse 157 is wrong. Muhammad is not spoken of in the Torah or in the Injil. Nowhere is he mentioned. This is not the example you want to go to, because as I've shown, if Deuteronomy is true, Islam is false. If Deuteronomy is true, Muhammad is a false prophet. You don't want to appeal to the Bible. The Bible is not your friend when you're trying to prove Islam. That's all I have to say. Mic free.
Again, you did not address the point. The verse says.
Okay. Hey, wait. But I want to intervene. I know he just stopped, but I have a question before we continue on.
Yeah, sure,
okay.
Go ahead.
Do you, after about, say, a few more rounds of YouTube, do you want to open this to a Q&A where the chat can write their questions in the VC
sure.
chat? Okay, how many more rounds do you guys want to do? Just real quick. How many more rounds of this? Do you want to do 2 or 3 more back and forth, or how many more?
I mean, honestly, I'm willing to go as long as he wants to. I don't mind.
But we want to open this for questions, if that's okay. So
yeah, that's fine. If people want to ask questions now, I mean, I'm fine with that.
So
if they want to answer questions now.
Then do you just want to cut this back and forth and just go straight to questions then? Or, well, to be fair, let's let Jihadist do his last rebuttal.
Okay.
Do you want to let Jihadist do his last rebuttal, then we open it for questions from the audience?
Yeah, and okay. If we're gonna do closing, so let's just do like
Okay.
You can rebut, then we'll do the closing.
Okay, I'll let.
Yeah, I have a recommendation, Sin. Sin, would you be okay, and the debaters, are you guys okay with like a 3-minute closing, or do you want 5 minutes, or is 3 minutes okay for closing statements?
I think we've spoken around for around 3 hours. And or like 4, and I'm pretty sure if I just give the closing statement, because I feel like it's just gonna go back and forth, and I think even Jay knows this. So I think we should just finish my thing, and then we just go to the Q&A, and I think that would be at least much more productive, because at least we'd be getting somewhere.
Okay, yeah, let's do close. So you don't want to do closings, or you do? I'm not clear.
You want to skip? Are you saying that you want to skip the closing statement?
Yeah, so I'll just say the last thing, because he made a claim, and then afterwards I won't make any claims in this, and then afterwards we'll just go to the Q&A. Yeah.
Okay,
well, to the moderators, I do want to give a closing after. I mean, it's not a big deal. I'll just give a closing. Okay. I won't introduce new points. I won't rebut. I'll just close my case.
Okay, and also for the guy who asked me in the chat, we're just gonna do questions in the VC chat to avoid chaos. Hopefully, you all understand. Just at me with a question, and I'll try to respond to it as fast as I can. Don't do too many questions, or I can't get to all of y'all. Anywho, all right, Jihadist, unless you rebut, and then you okay with Jai saying a closing statement then?
Yeah, so I'll just rebut, let Jay make his closing statements, and then afterwards I'll make my closing statement.
Okay.
So,
okay, sounds good. And for you guys, let's have the closing statements limited to 3 minutes. And also, I request for anyone asking a question, only 1 question per member. So don't tag Sin with like 10 different questions. Just pick your 1 question you want to ask, and that's enough.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And start.
All right. So, first of all, the verse itself, it says sacred stone. So yes, the whole point is that the stone is not sacred. Don't try to run away from that point. Smooching and all this stuff is irrelevant. I told you, if I smooch a rock, that doesn't make it sacred. If I hold a rock, that doesn't make it sacred. If we fight over a rock, that doesn't make it sacred either. What makes it sacred is the factor of whether it's holy or not, or gives harm or benefit, which it does neither. Therefore, it's no longer a sacred stone. We're not breaking any of these laws, right? You, on the other hand, by your own appeal, you would have to be an iconoclast because you just suggested that it's a sacred stone and therefore must be destroyed. Okay, so then therefore we cannot justify the building of Jesus statues. We must just destroy them all, right? And I think it's honestly just that simple. It just does not make sense. However, it would be appreciated if the audience would be able to understand this. So far, we've established the following, is that he wasn't able to provide this exegesis. And he just said that smooching makes something somehow holy, right? This debate was literally just an entire back and forth of Jay just not answering the question.
Is that all you wanted to say? Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, Jai. I'm going to give you let me reset this properly. I want to give you 3 minutes. And then I'll give Jihadist, I'll give you 3 minutes for your closing as well. And start, Jai.
Okay. So in summary, the discussion that we're having is based on chapter 7, verse 157 in the Quran. And if we can validate this verse, he told us we cannot validate the one part of the verse, the Injil. We cannot validate that part of the verse because according to him, we don't know where that is. We don't know where this Injil is, the one that was given to Jesus. So we cannot validate this verse. We cannot prove its truthfulness or how accurate this book is as far as Muhammad being written about in the Injil. Now, when he appealed to the Torah, he said Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 18 is about his prophet. I showed the context of the verse, that this is about specifically the Israelites, and I showed other passages in Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 9 through 10, that define for us what it means to be like Moses. We showed that Muhammad is not like Moses because he didn't know God face to face. He did not perform any miracles like Moses did in Egypt, and he wasn't from Israel. To further substantiate the fact that Muhammad is nothing like Moses, I showed that Moses taught in Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 1, I want to get this exact verses. Chapters 32, verse 6, and chapters 32, verse 18, where Moses taught that God is our Father. Of course, not in a physical, biological sense, but it's in a figurative sense. The Quran says that this is not the case, that the God of Muhammad is not the father of anyone, and the highest relationship you can have with him is a slave to master, which means that he's not the prophet like Moses because he went against the teaching of Moses. In particular, he taught God is not our father. Another point, Muhammad taught that a man can divorce his wife, that woman can can marry someone else, divorce that person, and then remarry the original husband. Muhammad taught that in the Quran, chapter 2, verse 230. In the book of Moses, Moses taught in Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 1 through 4, in Jeremiah chapter 3, verses 1 to 2, but specifically to Moses condemned this practice. God said it's an abomination in his sight. So Muhammad said that something that's abominable in the sight of the true God is actually a command from God. So therefore, he's not the prophet like Moses. He's also not the prophet like Moses because he kissed a stone, he smooched the stone, the black stone that Muslims all seek to smooch and kiss today. This, according to Moses in chapter 26 of Leviticus, says that if you do this to a stone,
seconds left.
Which, by the way, the Hebrew says aven, which does not mean sacred stone, but just a stone. Muhammad is guilty of that, therefore he's not the prophet like Moses.
And time is up. Okay. Alrighty, Jihadist, you have your 3 minutes, starting now.
All right, so far we established 5 things. Jay struggles to read. And 2, Jay was not able to provide a single exegesis that proves his point. 2, Jay likes to talk about smooching. 3, he changed his word from it being do not set up sacred stones to now don't set up stones, which means now literally all churches are don't fall under this topic, which now means that every church that has an icon inside, every church that has a painting inside, every church that has a statue inside, in fact, the entirety of Brazil now get disqualified from Christianity because they have a giant Jesus statue staring over them 24/7. The entirety of Rio de Janeiro, gone. They're no longer Christian because they have a giant Jesus statue, right? Because it doesn't say sacred stone. It's just don't set up stones, right? The fourth thing we established is now that commentary equals exegesis. And the fifth thing we established here today is that Jahil is somehow an insult to Jay. Now, what's interesting is the following. No matter how many times you present the same point, he would completely just make the same point over and over again, the tu quoque fallacy, which is just repeating his question against me rather than actually addressing the question. I believe, honestly, this debate went nowhere. Rather, it was just a giant fest of gobbledygook of Jay not being able to just answer the question. Right? It's just as simple as that. I think so far this is what has occurred. And I genuinely believe, with all due given standard, is that so far, from all that's been displayed, is that Islam has made a credible point in terms of showing and presenting that Christians are unable to actually even provide a simple thing that would refute Islam. Rather, that they have avoided questions. My opponent has refused to provide an exegesis and just talked about smooching for 30 minutes.
Is that all you want to say?
That's it.
Okay, then I'll just go ahead and stop this. Alrighty, time to move on to also. I don't think I need to do a timer for answers to questions, but do please keep it brief so we can get to all of them. And for everyone who's tagging me, make sure you only one question per member. All right, first one is from Nadir Ahmed. Forgive me if I mispronounced that. I'm guessing it's to you, Jihadist. All right, how does Deuteronomy 18 demonstrate without any reasonable doubt for Jews that Muhammad is a prophet? That's
okay. Well, for Jews, I wouldn't say that it was without a doubt reasonable for Jews, because Jews have a very specific standard as to altercating prophets or not. Like, for example, they say that this age of prophets have ended, I believe, at a certain time, that there will be no more non-Jewish prophets. And that's why I posted that commentary, actually, that said they would make it impossible, actually, for any Israelite prophet to actually appear. And the way that I would look at it and describe it is that from our understanding is that we would disagree with them on that. We just say that, no, it does, since it refers to non-Jewish prophets, it wouldn't be an impossibility. Rather, it would be a possibility that there is a prophet after Moses in generality. That's why we Muslims believe in Isa ibn Maryam, and we also believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as being prophets. Now, there are differing opinions. I wanted to just add as the last thing. There are differing opinions in terms of the understanding of Orthodox and Hasidic. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Orthodox have a general belief that that it refers to non-Jews, and Hasidic believes, I believe, refers to it being.
Did he cut out?
I think Discord just messed up.
Oh, okay.
What were you saying, Jihad? Sorry. Continue.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's it. All right.
Yeah. Am I able to respond, or how are we going to do this question?
I think we should just keep it to the people the questions are asked to. Hopefully, you get some soon, Jai. But the next one is for Jihadist as well. Basically, it's from Unknown Expert, and it asks, "How is it not sacred if it comes from heaven and is next to the Kaaba?" That is the question from Unknown Expert, Jihadist.
Okay, so it's sacred when it would be in the understanding that it is no longer sacred because sin has touched it. And I'm going to provide the hadith of Ibn Abbas here, where Ibn Abbas says that when it first arrived, it was actually very white. It was milky white, right? And that's what made it holy and a part of heaven. But even then, it wasn't told for us to worship it or kiss it or anything of the sort at the time. Over time, it became corrupted and became black, right? Because of people's sins. And what ended up happening is that now in the essence of our understanding of sacred, and I understand how you guys might perceive it to be as sacred because you guys think that we go and kiss the stone and stuff like that. But we don't say that it is sacred means that it's just holy because it's from heaven. We say the word sacred specifically means that it has power to harm or benefit. Right? Like how you guys say the Holy Spirit is sacred because it has power to harm or benefit as well. And that's what our definition of sacred is more so centralized at. So if it does not have harm to benefit or cause harm, no, it's not sacred. Right? The stone itself actually, like on multitudes of times, like under multiple caliphates, have actually been lost. Even the British, I think, like stole the entire thing at some point.
Okay. Can we move on to the next question? Alrighty.
Yeah. I got a question.
Please write it in chat. But all right. So please, Mark. Okay. Please don't interrupt the thing. Alrighty. So the next, Mark, please. Okay. The next question is from Bashir Al-Assad. If I mispronounce it, I apologize. All right. Basically, how can Muhammad be a prophet like Moses if Muhammad discouraged calling Allah Father while Moses did not?
This question was to me, right?
Yes,
okay.
You.
So the way that Jews understood Father to be is different from what Christians think. Otherwise, Jews today would literally be saying that, no, he's actually a father, part of this triune Godhead, or that. In terms of children, it would mean in literal or some sort of understanding. In Islam, we recognize that it is an understanding that we say metaphorically we are children of God. We recognize that, but more so we are addressing the false tribulation that's been added onto it. Like, for example, saying that no, well, the Father and then the Son appears and then the Holy Spirit. We don't agree with that part. Right. So we would agree in the essence that God is the Father and we're all His children. That's no problem. And we acknowledge that Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Abdul Wahhab, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah all rectified that and said in a figurative understanding that it's fine because it's all in understanding with Abrahamic scripture. What we would have an issue with is that when the Christians say that Moses believed the same thing they did in literality. Right? Because when Christians say the Father, they don't just mean that we are the children of God and that He is the Father. They add an addition to that. They say, listen, there is that the Son is also involved in this, and we say, well, that becomes problematic for Christianity to us to pre-assume those two things, because then it would necessarily have to follow that one of these children is the Son, right? So the Quran more so addresses that understanding of Father, right? But in reality, in terms of figurative speech, there is no issue with this understanding.
Okay, 1 second. Let me scroll back. I missed the one question. If I do miss your question, it's not your second one, because remember, you can only do one. Please re-at me because I might have missed it because something just messed up. People keep. Okay, I found it. Alrighty. Here's another one. Basically, it is to you again, Jihadist. Y'all need to get some for Jai. Jai need some questions, y'all. Come on. Anywho, alrighty. So, how did Muhammad know Yahweh face to face when all his revelations were revealed through Gabriel, and Allah is repeated to be Al-Gib? I think is how you say it. It's from Chicken of the Sea, by the way. But yeah.
So that will be actually a very good question. It's called Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj. Right? The Isra wal-Mi'raj is it's actually something that occurred to the Prophet, where the Prophet was actually raised up to the sky and spoke to God. Right? And it honestly just takes a quick Google search to find out the entire story of the Isra wal-Mi'raj. Right? And he did go up and he did speak to God. Right? But in generality, we say that when you say face-to-face with God, you cannot see God. Right? Because the human mind cannot conceptualize God, cannot put him into fruition. So we say that when you are, quote-unquote, face to God, there's always a barrier. For example, when Moses was talking to God, he spoke to him through a burning bush. When Muhammad was talking to God in the Isra al-Mi'raj, there was a blanket between them. When all these things occur, is that it's always that there's a barrier in between them. Now, there are some people that say, well, listen, no, it's a dream. But in the general understanding of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, this would be an incorrect belief, right? It isn't a dream. The dream part only comes from Al-Ghazali, which isn't a hujjah upon any, in terms of the majority of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Because Al-Ghazali is known for, how do I explain this? Putting in theories instead of actually presenting something factual directly from the seerah. But in general understanding and the majority belief, it is something that has occurred. People like Al-Ghazali and Mufti Abu Layth are not taken as hujjah.
All right, that is all you wanted to say? Just making it. All right. Because we got a question for Jai now. Okay, so Jai, it's a question from Smoking Tire. He put in, I'll read for you the verse as well. He wrote in the verse Deuteronomy 33:2, and his question is, in this passage, it clearly talks about 3 locations. I would like you to know where all 3 of these places are. I'm not really sure that's a question, but okay. Then he wants you to list off where they are. And it says, the Lord came from Sinai, and he dawned over them from Seir, and he shone from Mount Paran, and he came with myriads of holy ones from the south, from his mountain slopes. So, Smoking Tire, you might want to clarify what you're trying to ask him, but maybe he's asking for where those are.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, this comes from Deuteronomy chapter 33, verses 1-2, like he said. And it says, the Lord came from Sinai and dawned over from Seir, and then shone forth from Mount Paran. So this is the Lord doing this. It's not a prophet. It's not Muhammad. If that's what he's trying to imply. But he's just asking for the locations. We know that King David spent time in the wilderness of Paran after Samuel died. You can read about this in 1 Samuel chapter 15. And this is where Edom was. So he fled from Edom to Egypt, and he passed through Midian, and Paran was on the way to Egypt. So it's all in that location of Egypt, northwestern Arabia, like probably modern day Jordan, but definitely if you're trying to say that this is somewhere near Mecca, nowhere even close. If you just look at a map today, you look at a biblical map compared to our modern map, look at where Mecca is today, and then look at a biblical map where Edom was. Edom is in northwestern Arabia, which would be modern day Jordan. So that's where these locations are: northeastern Arabia and Egypt. And it's not Muhammad, nothing to do with Muhammad, because it says this is the Lord coming from there. Unless you want to say that Muhammad is the Lord, then you just committed shirk and you said that he's God. I'm sure you don't want to do that, though.
Okay, is that your answer, Jai?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, we got a question for Jihadist from Palindrome. He asks, can you cite a Jewish exegesis that says Muhammad is the prophet of Deuteronomy 18? Also, he says, also, Pius, if this question gets asked, can you DM me the answer? LOL. So I guess Pius DM Palindrome or whatever, but anywho, Jihadist, that's the question. Did I break up? Did y'all hear?
It's a Jewish exegesis that says.
Wait, Jihadist, 1 second. Where did I break off at, y'all? Jihadist, where did I break off at? Because I think my.
You broke off at message me.
Okay, yeah. Okay, Pius. Palindrome wants you to message him about something, so handle that if you please. Anywho, continue, Jihadist. Sorry.
In terms of Jewish exegesis, no, and the reason why I cannot is because there is no Jewish exegesis that says Muhammad is the prophet of Deuteronomy 18:18. The point that I believe I was making throughout the entire conversation was that it refers to just a non-Jewish prophet, not rather that it is that the Jews directly believe that this refers to Muhammad. Right? So I'm saying that by that accord, we Muslims believe that it refers to Muhammad. This Jewish exegesis does not agree with it. And same likewise with Christianity, Jewish exegesis does not agree that Jesus applies under that standard either.
Alrighty. Next, another question for Jihadist from Simon 101. He asks, can you cite... Oh, wait, wrong one. Sorry. My mistake. I don't know. I was about to reread the same one. Anywho, okay, sorry. Question. Okay, so we'll just repeat their question. Let's see. Okay, here's a question from Simon 101. How can Muhammad be a prophet if Muhammad never spoke to God like Moses did and did miracles like Moses did, which Muhammad said he didn't do any?
Well,
he originally he asked about the face-to-face, but you want to address the miracle thing?
Yeah. I will show this. Yeah, I will show that this right here in the Tahawi. We can take a look. I put it in debate chat. I'll use this moment to just address the factor of people, because I've noticed a few people are saying, well, listen, what if it's a dream? Right? It says here in Al-Tahawi, in his famous book Al-Aqidah, the Mi'raj is true. The Prophet was taken on a journey by night, was taken up to heaven himself when he was awake. Then he was taken as high up, and this is a hint, when he was awake. That he was taken as high up as Allah willed, and Allah honored him with whatever he willed and revealed to him what he revealed. And it says in Surah An-Najm, chapter 50, which is chapter 53, verse 11, the Prophet's heart lied not in seeing what he saw. Right? So the Prophet did not have it in a dream. He did not have it in figurative understanding, did not have it in metaphorically, but rather it was literal, right? That he did go up and he did indeed speak to God. That's actually how we receive our 5 prayers. Right? Is that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he directly went up and he received those prayers from God.
Okay, I got another question now. This one's given to me by Aziz, and it was from Jai. If the historical Jesus really said the 7 I am and many other sayings in John which make up the divine Christology, then why aren't they mentioned in the synoptics? The different audience and perspective argument doesn't help. It implies the synoptic authors deem the sayings not important enough to mention them, or they were simply not aware of them, which we're simply not aware of it. Which of the two is what he's asking you, Jai? You can respond to that.
Okay. Did he say something about the I am statements, or
yeah, 7 I am statements that are in Christology? Okay. He's asking.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so the questioner, whoever is asking that, is just ignorant of the synoptics and probably hasn't read them. But if you read Mark chapter 14, verse 62, you have Jewish scholars, not even Christian scholars, who are interpreting this and seeing that Jesus is the historic Jesus, because according to the historic theory of the Gospels and how they were written, they say that Mark was the earliest and therefore the most reliable to the historic Jesus, the most accurate to his account. So if we go to Mark and we can prove that you're wrong, then it just shows that you just really don't know what you're talking about. So Mark chapter 14, verse 62, Jesus said, he's being asked by the high priest, by Caiaphas, and he's asking them if he's the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One. And then Jesus answers and he says to them, I am. So he uses that same title, the I am statement, and then he goes on to say, you will see the Son of Man, and then he says, you'll see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of the power and coming with the clouds of heaven. So in short, there are 4 references to divinity here in Mark, and I can go all over Mark to show you this. Whoever it is asking the question, we can dialogue about this, but another time. But the 4 references to deity here, which Jesus is saying, I am, and then he says, you'll see the Son of Man. Go back to Daniel chapter 7, verses 13 and 14. The Son of Man is the divine figure there, and then seated at the right hand of the power. If you understand the historic context of what the two powers of heaven, this is a debate that's recorded in the Talmud. We know about it from other Jewish sources. There were these 2 powers, very similar to a Christian Trinity. They believed in a Father and Son figure, 2 divine powers. So when Jesus says here that he's seated at the right hand of the power, in Jewish thinking, and I'll wrap up with this, in Jewish thinking, the right hand of the power is someone seated on the second throne. So whoever's seated in heaven is divinity. And then Jesus says that he's coming on the clouds of heaven. Last point with this, there are 70 references to riding on the clouds of heaven throughout the Hebrew Bible. All of them are references to God. So whoever's riding in the clouds of heaven, according to a Jewish mindset, according to the Tanakh, is divinity. So I think that's the answer.
Okay, also, just to clarify for y'all who are asking me why I'm not letting Jai questions, it's because I'm scrolling down through the thing, and whichever question I see, whoever it's to is going to get the question. So, I mean, that's the easiest way to do it so I don't miss questions. Also, you guys, I'm going to get to your question eventually. You don't have to keep reposting them. But I'm just scrolling down because I'm not really moving. I'm kind of stuck in one place. Anywho, for Jai, alrighty, another question for Jai from Chicken of the Sea. What does face-to-face mean, and why doesn't the night journey of Muhammad qualify for knowing God in this way?
Okay, so what you heard from Jihadist was that this was not a vision or a dream. I encourage people who are listening to this debate, or people who are here now, like, you know, people in the recording, you guys listening, go back, study the sources that we quoted, look at the references. the sources actually state that this was a dream, it was a vision. He didn't actually see God. And so Muhammad never saw God face to face. What it means to see God face to face is, we look in the book of Numbers, chapter 12, verse 8. Actually, read the whole account, verses 6 to 8. Moses knew God face to face. He saw the form of God. And in Hebrew, it literally means the form of God. Temunat Hashem, Temunat Adonai, means the form of God. So Moses beheld the form of God. He knew God, panim el panim, face to face. Muhammad had no relationship to God in that way. He never saw God face to face. Therefore, again, he cannot be the prophet like Moses, because according to Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 9 and 10 and 11, state that to be like Moses means to know God face to face. Muhammad didn't know God face to face, therefore he's not the prophet like Moses.
Okay, and that seems to be all the questions we have. So,
all right, thank you for moderating.
Disbanded. Hopefully, everyone has enjoyed this. Have a great day.
One last thing I wanted to say. I would actually be interested in challenging Jihadist if you wanted to have a debate on the philosophical merit